Turn my mic on. It's time to get rowdy. What up, everybody? Happy Wednesday to the folks out there. We got another game today, of course. We got a lot of music to talk about. Pete Rock and Common and Pete Rock, they just dropped another banger, and they actually dropped the release date for the album. It's going to be next month. I want to say it's the 26th. Somebody confirm that for me in a second. But yes, I know Rakim's dropping around that time too. We also got news that Styles P is dropping his album out in 3 increments. But while we're getting everybody in the chat, and thumbs up to everybody out there, man, we'll talk a little bit of basketball right now, man. The Celtics are in pole position to go ahead and pretty much take this finals out of the hands of the Dallas Mavericks. I'm not really, maybe because it doesn't seem like Kyrie is performing at the level we know he can perform at. And, Tatum, to a certain degree, isn't performing at the level that we know he can perform at as well. I hadn't really been excited about this final so far. Ron, what are your thoughts on this final so far? Am I tripping?
Well, hold on. I was excited getting into it. I was excited when it started. I still think, tonight's going to be the telltale. If we can get to tonight's game, then we will take momentum in the series back.
And you say we because Dallas is your second home. And yes, Darren Harris, July 12th. That's when Common and Pete Rock are dropping.
Yes, I say we because Dallas is my second home. Shout out to Richardson. Shout out to the Soto. Shout out to Fort Worth. Shout out to Salina. Shout out to Prosper, the Colony. Shout out to Allen, Frisco. It's my second home, man. So, and I've been to American Airlines Arena several times to see the Mavericks. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, so I want the city to be. They deserve a champion. They deserve Luka and Kyrie to come through. They just do, So that's what I'm excited about. We got to get tonight's game, though. We got to get tonight's game. It's the key. It's the key.
The other guys got to start, activating themselves. And I think that when you talk about the others, as Shaq would put it, it does start with your leaders. And obviously, Luka's doing what he's doing. But I think if Kyrie can get his game going, that'll help out the others as well on that team. Because somebody in the chat mentioned Drew Holiday is a factor. Yes, he is. You know what I'm saying? And so is Derek White. Derek White is out there balling. He's doing what he's supposed to do as a supporting cast type of player. He's making his shots. He's being aggressive on defense. And when you got those guys operating at that level where, Tatum and Jaylen Brown don't have to do such heavy lifting, and then the other guys on the other team aren't doing much at all, you're going to win. And you're going to win handily.
When you go home, the role players play better.
Of course.
It's home cooking. So I expect the role players to step up. I expect hopefully they'll give Tim Hardaway Jr. some run. When he comes off the bench, he's always played well. I think it'll be a much better environment, obviously, because you're playing at home.
Why is he not getting any run?
I don't know. I think he just fell out of the rotation. I don't know if it's something between him and the coach, but he fell out of rotation. It happens sometimes. He might not be. I don't know if he's a defensive liability. I think he plays okay D. So I don't know what it is. I think he might have just fell out of favor with Jason Kidd. But we'll see tonight. I think he get him some run. And I think we'll be fine. We got to get this. We got to start fast. I know Luka's nursing some injuries. They say his ribs is banged up. So I don't know.
Well, this is the time for everybody to step up. Like you said, the role players play better at home. I'm looking at tonight's game. Like, I expect Dallas to win this game. They have to win this game. But to me, it's more about how do they win this game tonight. A blowout, I don't know. That could give them the confidence they need. Or if they win in a close matchup, it's going to depend on how well some of the individuals play. Because if we got Kyrie out here not playing well, and then they end up winning somehow, I don't know if that helps them moving forward. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has to get out of that rut.
Yeah, I say Dallas by 5. Dallas by 5. Say Dallas by 5. I think the score will be 93-98. Dallas.
Well, I know that that Dallas crowd is going to really be into it. You wanted to say some things about LeBron James before we get into this music stuff.
Yeah, before we get started, a couple of shows ago, you and I we had a conversation. I think it might have been before the final started, or right. It might have been before the final started. I don't know when it. I think it was, or either during. There was some comments. People in the chat were saying that Larry Bird was better than LeBron James, and upon reflection, that really bothered me. Right? That really, I couldn't sleep.
Why does that bother you?
Because I'm going to show you why it bothers me. Because I went back to the 2016 NBA Finals, and that performance was one of the best performances I ever seen. I thought about when LeBron James went to Miami 2010, 2011. He won back-to-back MVPs and back-to-back championships. When they had the black jerseys on, he had the black mask, and just seeing LeBron just dominate Indiana, dominate Boston the way he did, coming back and beating Boston in that series and really putting that team in disarray and finishing in that team. I just think even when you look at LeBron James, you cannot say there's an argument to be made he's the best player of all time. Now, let me pull up this real quick, right? Because I've never seen – now what this on your screen is saying is that LeBron James is the first player in NBA history to lead both teams in points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. I mean, I want people in the chat to tell me how, on God's creation, that Larry Bird is a better basketball player than LeBron James. I don't understand. Maybe I'm something I'm not getting, Mike. Maybe it's something.
What up, L Bugs? No, I mean, I think that what LP said, that one could say that Bird is more clutch. But as you said, when you look at LeBron's stats, his longevity, and what he's been able to do over his career, and doing it from the age of 18, and just jumping into the spotlight with all of those, with all of the pressure and all of the hype that he had coming into the league, you'd be hard pressed to say that anybody is better. I mean, I'll put it this way. There's an argument for somebody who came up in LeBron's era to say he's the greatest player of all time, and it wouldn't be hyperbole. You look at somebody with 40,000 points. You look at somebody who's top 10 in rebounds, assists, who changes the game and basically dominated the East single-handedly. When you see what he was able to do, where the Heat were in the finals, they lost to the Spurs. He leaves that team, goes to a lottery team. They're in the finals the next year, and then the team that he was on before is not even a playoff team. Like, we've never seen anything like that, where a guy can basically switch teams and you go from a lottery team to a contending team. Those are just facts, Now, it ain't a Larry Bird thing because, I think that, I say this respectfully, because I think that Magic is probably the greatest point guard ever. LeBron's better than Magic too. And it could be an argument made that he's better than anybody for the most part, even statistically, the longevity. Well, Michael Jordan. Now, I watched Michael Jordan play. My eye test and everything that I know about basketball tells me that Jordan is the better individual player, and more so in the vacuum, and all of those things, and the fact that how do I say this? He didn't win with a whole lot of all-stars, but I'm gonna get back to that point. But with that being said, a LeBron fan could go out there and say, hey, the Bulls had a great front office. Jerry Krause made great moves. Jerry Krause went out there and got Phil Jackson. He went out there and got Tex Winners. He went out there and traded up for Scottie Pippen. He went out there and got Bill Cartwright, got Dennis Rodman, got Tony Kukoc, scouted out Tony Kukoc when people weren't even really scouting out internationally like that. LeBron never really had that kind of front office that was able to provide him that type of team where he could just stay put. So his way of actually trying to get what he needed personnel-wise was to move around and make moves himself. Jordan didn't have to do those things. So that's why I don't like those arguments that such and such had more help, or quote unquote, didn't have to make up their own team. Yes, Jordan was very competitive. That's not a weak take. It is what it is. Jordan was very competitive. He had a great front office. That's like when we're talking about a Laker player, like a Kobe or a Shaq or even a Magic. even a Bird, they had a great front office. And if we're being honest here, guys, of all of the great players, all of the top 10 players we talk about, whether it be Bird, Magic, Shaq, whether we talk about Tim Duncan, Jordan, or whatever, they had a great front office. LeBron probably has had the weakest front office, with the exception of him going to Miami, than any of the all-time great players. And that's just being honest.
When we talk about help, I mean, you had Bill Walton, you had Kevin McHale, you had Robert Parrish, you had Dennis Johnson, you had Danny Ainge, Rick Carlisle was on them teams, man. Come on, man. Let's be for real. I'm talking about help.
Those teams were stacked. I mean, that's why Jordan going out there scoring 63 didn't win anything for him against them. And that's nobody's fault. I mean, we're just trying to look at everything objectively. I think that when people use that argument against LeBron that, he has to go, team up and do this, and that. Yeah, I mean, it's true. He did team up with his draft class. That is very unique. But if we're looking at it in the scope of where the league was going at the time and what was happening at the time, that was a direct reaction to what Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen did. It is what it is. LeBron always has to play GM because he's never really had one. And I think that his time in Cleveland put him in a position where he felt like he had to be his own GM. And I mean, I don't know whose fault that is, but even when he was up for free agency, Cleveland did nothing to keep him. You remember that before he went to Miami? Like, people just assumed that because he was the hometown kid, he was going to stay. They made zero moves to keep him.
It's insane, man. And we talk about help. I outlined Larry Bird's help. I mean, Magic had James Worthy, he had Kareem, he had Michael Cooper, he had Bob McAdoo, he had Byron Scott, Worthy. I mean, come on, man. Let's be.
I mean, Worthy and Kareem is all you really have to. Now, I mean, the other guys were dope players.
McAdoo was an all-star.
McAdoo was an all-star, but I'm just saying, like, Kareem is like a top 3 player all time, and Worthy is a number 1 pick, number 1 overall pick, who played with Michael Jordan in North Carolina and was the number 1 guy before Jordan really came into his own. So when you got those two guys, and then, like you said, a McAdoo who's an all-star too, I mean, got a pretty stacked team. It is what it is. That Philadelphia team that won, where they had Moses Malone, they had Dr. J, they had
Mo Cheeks.
Yeah, man, like it takes that to win. I mean, really. So this whole notion that people win by themselves, and I think Michael Jordan did a great job of making it look like that, but the Bulls teams really were balanced, and he had everything that he needed from a coaching end, from a defensive scheming end, from a system end, and from a personnel end. And he was able to be who he was. And I think because he had a great front office on top of the fact that he was the greatest athlete we've ever seen, it really put him in position to win in the way that he did. And I understand that gripe that he had with Jerry Krause, and when Jerry Krause said organizations win championships. I see how Jordan could take offense to that, but it's funny how things work out. Jordan's been in the front office now. You know what I mean? He understands what it takes to have to make those moves now. We can't front on the moves that Jerry Krause made. All of those moves that he made were A1. They were great. I mean, those teams were put together in a way where Jordan didn't have to go out there and play GM. He didn't have to go out there and court other guys to come join him, because that was already handled. All he had to do was go out there and do what he did best, and that's play basketball. Mal7 with the super chat says, I think LeBron is better than Bird, but a case can be made for Bird being better, no doubt.
Well, Mal, I appreciate you saying that. I agree with you. I think LeBron is better than Bird, but when we look at stuff like this, the case is closed for me.
All right, well, this is it. This is what, and I may have said this in the previous episode. Say a lot of stuff, but if I'm going into one series, I may pick Bird as my number one guy over LeBron. Are you okay with that statement?
No, I'm not. You know why I'm not okay with that statement? Because what I'm showing you on the screen right now. So no, I'm not. I'm not okay with that statement. Let me read this again. The first player to lead both teams in these categories in any playoff series of any length: points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. And mind you, this man was playing a 73-win team. Mind you, they were down 3-1. And mind you, he got the job done. So he's saying any playoff series or any game, give me LeBron James. Easy. Not even a question.
I'm trying to look at this objectively, and you're right. And I believe that comeback from, against Golden State, what was that, 2016, something like that? When they were down 3-1 and they came back and beat a 73-9 Golden State team, that is the best individual performance I think I've ever seen in the NBA Finals from LeBron James. But if I'm being objective here as well, styles make fights, right? I think that's the perfect team for him to be able to do something like that on. And obviously, Kyrie was busting Steph's ass too. That was happening too. But we think about the small ball that Golden State plays. That plays right into LeBron's chamber where he's able to dominate those guys because you know what? He's that compact player at 6'9", with the speed that he has, with the basketball IQ he has, with the motor he has to play big on this small team, but still run them out of the gym. We saw that when he blocked Iguodala. We saw that when he blocked Steph. I think if there was a team that was made up of more size and just more balance in that way, that was 73-9, I think that may have worked differently. Saying all that to say, I think a Bird-led team, I don't know, puts you in a better situation depending on who your opponent is. I don't know. It could go either way.
No, it can only go one way, and that's LeBron James. But shout out to Soulmatic. He said the same thing I was about to say. He said if LeBron stayed in Miami, he would have 5 championships. I agree. I think a big mistake on that LeBron made was going back to Cleveland. If he would have stayed in Miami, he'd probably be 5, maybe 6 right now.
I don't know if it was a mistake per se. I think that him going back to Cleveland and winning the way that he did, especially against that 73-9 Golden State team, I think that's one of the biggest accomplishments of his career, if not his biggest. I think if he would have stayed in Miami and continued to win, I think it would have looked like Miami made him. You know what I'm saying? And I think that kind of like what Kevin Durant's going through right now, he wouldn't have really had a home per se, because Miami's never going to be his team. That's always going to be Pat Riley's town. That's always going to be D Wade's, really. And so I think that's why he left. I was very surprised that he left. I was very shocked to see that he was going back to Cleveland.
I mean, maybe he went back to Cleveland. I think once he left Cleveland the second time, maybe he should have went back to Miami, because LA is not his town. LA is not his team.
Well, see, what LA does is they appease guys. They did this to Shaq. They did this to Kobe. They weren't going to do that in Miami. And I think that LeBron wanted to boss up and have his own team and call his own shots. He can do that in LA. He understood he was never going to be able to do that in Miami.
Yeah, but
because
I'm saying
even when they tried to get Eric Spoelstra out of there on the low and was screaming at Spoelstra and pretty much, acting weird towards Spoelstra, they didn't get rid of him. Pat Riley wasn't going to get rid of him.
Right. I don't know, man. It's a good conversation. Again, I stand on my business. LeBron James could be argued the greatest basketball player that ever lived. Shout out to Jerry West too. Jerry West, rest in peace, man.
Rest in peace to Jerry West. And we want to talk about great GMs, man. We talking about somebody who made the move to get Shaq over there, who traded up to get Kobe Bryant from Charlotte. I mean, his assessment of talent and the fact that he played with Wilt Chamberlain and whatnot, like he has Elgin Baylor, the basketball knowledge that he has is, it was something to marvel at. I remember listening to him talk when they were doing those they did that TNT draft. You remember that? It was like top 75 players all time, and they had a whole bunch of the people on their panels just basically doing a random draft, pulling their team together. And Jerry West was one of those people who was able to draft their own team. But just listening to him speak about some of the all-time players that he had either played with, grew up watching, or, actually drafted or, dealt with from a GM type end, it's like this man's basketball knowledge is something to marvel at. And unfortunately, man, we no longer have him here for that. But rest in peace to Jerry West, the logo. Didn't he say that he wanted the logo to be changed to Michael Jordan?
No, I think he said he wanted the logo to be changed to Kobe.
He did say that. I could see like that one Michael Jordan dunk being the logo. It's like straight up. It's how do I describe this dunk? Where he I had a poster of it as a kid too, where he's just standing straight up and it's like he's it kind of looks like the logo where Jerry's dribbling, but it's like a Duncan type of double dribble type thing.
Well, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that could easily be the logo.
They can change the logo to Jordan, but I think you could change the logo to Kobe. I think they should change the Larry O'Brien trophy to the Kobe Bryant trophy.
I think they should keep the logo to Jerry, man. Michael Jordan already runs the league, man. We see the Jordan logo on all the jerseys now anyways.
Even on football jerseys. But I think you should give Kobe, name the NBA Finals trophy after Kobe. I know they named the All-Star trophy after Kobe, but I think they should name the Finals trophy after and they should name the Lombardi, they should change it to the Brady. That's what I would do. I mean,
why do you think they should change any of the the awards to Kobe?
I mean, just because, his impact, man. And if you talk to the players and to let the players tell on multiple podcasts, I mean, you go down the line from role players to superstars to a man, they say Kobe was one of the most feared competitors in the game, someone that they studied, someone that they gave advice to help players out. They said in a lockout season, Kobe was giving cats bread. And just Kobe was just about competition. So the ultimate competition, the ultimate prize in the NBA is the Larry O'Brien trophy, right? So, I mean, I think you should just give Kobe that honor, man, because his peers say it. It's not me on this podcast saying it. If you go and listen to some different podcasts on YouTube, to a man, they say Kobe was that guy. And he should be paid with respect.
This is what I will say about Kobe. And I said this well before he passed, man, because I used to just sit there on YouTube and watch Kobe talk about the game. I don't think there's anybody who could articulate the game to, basketball fans or people who might not understand basketball like that in the way that Kobe does. Like, he really spoke to the game very well. Like, I remember that one time where it was one of the few times during that gap in playoff bursts that he had going on when he was playing with Smush Parker and those guys, where he got on the panel on TNT, inside the NBA panel, and he was actually talking about the game. And it was very entertaining. Now, I know Kobe was such a busy person in developing his daughter as a basketball player as well. And I'm sure Kobe would be very happy where the WNBA is right now. But he would have been a great commentator, but I think he has so much stuff going on that he wasn't going to do anything like that. But yeah, as far as like articulating the game and speaking to the game, I think he's the best that I've ever heard of a guy who played on that level, because he can kind of take you there and really dissect everything. And that kind of speaks to who he was as a player, though, because he figured it out. He didn't have all the physical gifts. He wasn't the tallest, wasn't the fastest, wasn't the strongest, but he was able to figure out where he could dominate you at. And most of that was mentality. So
right.
Just a piece to Kobe. I mean, I don't know exactly what the league needs to do or where that would fit in, because a lot of the people that they have these honors named after are no longer with us either. So I don't know. I don't know what, could be done. Like, Kobe doesn't have like a signature move or anything, does he?
No, I mean, he don't have a signature move, but he was just great, man.
Like, if we saw a silhouette of something, we wouldn't even know if it's Kobe or not. If we saw a silhouette,
they got a couple when he tugging the jersey, when he got a dunk when he had the fro. He got a couple when he cocked it back like that. You know what I mean? He's got a couple signature things he's done throughout the years. I think his statues are made out of some of those iconic moments, man. But before we get off this, man, I want to say, LeBron, I know you're not listening to the podcast, but if you are, LA don't have a coach right now. You got this JJ Redick, so JJ Redick's probably not going to take the job. The UConn coach said, "Nah, I'm good."
I think he made the right decision.
You need to go back to Miami, man. Miami will draft your son. He'll develop your son. You'll play with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. You'll play with a man. I forgot his name. The white guy. You know what I'm saying? Brain fart. You know what I'm saying? You'll play with some people, man. And your final years, you'll get back to the finals maybe once or twice, and maybe win one, and then let that be your home. Retire. People go to Florida to retire, man. It's low taxes, no state taxes. You'd be good.
You don't think he would look like a journeyman if he went back to Miami?
No, because Miami is the second home. It's what made him the champion and it made him the champion that he is. So it's not being a journeyman. It's going back home.
Yeah, because he would have won a championship with every run that he was on, with the exception of when he got drafted initially. So yeah, I think that would be decent. But he would have to win. Shaq kind of. I don't want to say Shaq ended in Miami, but the Shaq that we know of kind of ended in Miami, right? I think if he goes to Miami, they have a chance because the East is wide open.
They've gone to more finals than he's gone to since he left.
Interesting Miami stat right there. A lot of new music going on, man. And Styles P, Common's coming. Well, him and Pete Rock, man, they're dropping fire, man. Not just saying that either. I think there's some Kendrick stuff coming. I heard from somewhere that could be a play. We got that concert coming up on Juneteenth. Shout out to them. Speaking of which, did you see that tape that somebody made? It was like a compilation tape. It was a cassette tape that somebody put together with all of the songs from this back and forth with Drake and Kendrick. It's called Drake versus Kendrick. And they put it in like a mixtape type of form. Did you see that? You pull up.
I did see that. I got it pulled up, man. I did see that, man.
Let me see on my end, man. Like,
hold on, where is that? Hold on.
What songs was on here?
They had First Person Shooter.
Yeah, that's the intro. That starts it off.
They had 7-Minute Drill.
Well, no. Let me go in order. It goes First Person Shooter, Drake featuring J. Cole. Then it got Like That. Boom. Then it got We Don't Trust You. Then it got 7-Minute Drill. Then it got All to Myself. Then it has Show of Hands. Then Champagne Moments. Push-Ups. Tailor-Made Freestyle. Like That remix is on there. Euphoria. 616 in LA, Family Matters, Buried Alive Interlude Part 2, Meet the Grams, Not Like Us, The Heart Part 6, and Metro's BBL Drizzy Ends It Out. When you look at all of these songs on one tape, first of all, shout out to whoever did this. It's a dope concept, dope idea. I don't know what cassette player or Walkman they could play it on, but definitely a keepsake. When you look at all these in a track list form, the best songs, I think, Not Like Us and Meet the Grams really stand out. Like if I was listening to this in an album format, I probably would say Meet the Grams is the best song on this album, followed by maybe Family Matters and Not Like Us. It kind of intensifies, it heats up, and then First Person Shooter. And let me round this 5 out. I might go 616 in LA.
Yeah, I would. That's a good list. I would
3
say
of those are Kendrick songs. Shout out to him. And shit, Euphoria is tough too. So
yeah, I would say top 5 would be 616 in LA. I would say First Person Shooter. I would say Not Like Us. I would say Family Matters. And then, I would say maybe Euphoria. I wasn't a big fan of Meet the Graham, so
I think Meet the Grams to me is the song that actually won this for Kendrick. I think that Family Matters, if it lives for a few days or even a week, it puts Kendrick in a real backward stance. You know what I'm saying? And Meet the Grams was able to reject Family Matters in the moment. It's like if somebody made a great play and then you get somebody like, to just block that dunk or something like that. If that dunk would have went down, then what I'm saying, the game would have been almost out of reach. But for him to intercept something like Family Matters, Meet the Grams is the most important song in this matchup, I think. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says Kobe, but Tim Duncan is better than Kobe and played during the exact same era in the same conference. The dismissiveness of Timmy is wild, shaking my head. Yeah, I think Tim Duncan, if we're being objective, is overall better than Kobe. I mean, he is. I mean, I was more. Listen, if you were talking about who would you rather watch play or who was more box office and more, you know what I'm saying, like, I don't say fan friendly and more exciting to watch, it's Kobe. But you couldn't really break down Kobe being better than Tim Duncan. That's a hard sell.
I mean,
where would you say Kobe's better than Tim Duncan at?
He was a better ball handler. He was a better shooter.
That's not, no. That's like me saying that Tim Duncan's a better rebounder than Kobe. He's supposed to, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's apples and oranges. You really can't compare players. Who I enjoyed watching more, I enjoyed watching Kobe more. If you ask an NBA player to a man who was better, the people that actually played in the NBA would probably rattle Kobe off the tip of their tongue faster than they would Tim Duncan. This is not me on the podcast. These are actual NBA players. You ask Allen Iverson, you ask Steven Jackson, you ask Kyrie Irving, you ask Jason Tatum, who they would say who's better. They would probably 7 out of 10 would probably say Kobe.
This is what I will say that, in my opinion, is a blemish on Tim Duncan's resume. When him and Iverson were the leaders of that Olympic team that was getting their ass beat over there, and it was the first time that we had seen Tim Duncan without Popovich, but he also had, a great coach in damn, I'm tripping. Iverson's coach. You know what I'm talking about. Coach Detroit, too. I hate these brain farts that happen live. You know what I'm talking. Larry Brown. So he had Larry Brown coaching his team where you had LeBron, Wade, and Melo sitting there on the bench. And he wasn't able to lead them to victory. And I think that, to some degree, in my opinion, it is kind of a blemish because I don't feel like if Kobe was out there in his place, that would have went down the same way, in my opinion. If Kobe was out there playing on that team and was one of the leaders on that team, I feel like they would have been led to victory. And so, saying all that to say, it makes me feel like in that circumstance, in that situation, it showed that Tim Duncan was more of a system player.
And I would say, I don't want the chat to explode. So we'll talk about this another time because we got to get to the music. Can you really say, I'm trying to brace myself when I say it.
Uh-oh.
Man, give me Karl Malone, man, over Tim Duncan. I'm sorry. Give me Karl Malone. That just is what it is, man. Because that MVP season that Karl Malone had was one of the greatest. I think he won it over Jordan. It was like 97, 98. I was really young at the time. I remember watching it. It wasn't it was a boring type of game, but he had that little jumper he had. And that was one of the best solo performances. He had John Stockton. He had Ostertag. He had a lot of players on his team.
Hornacek.
He had Hornacek, Brian Russell. But that performance, that MVP that Karl Malone won, I think he won back-to-back MVPs, if I'm not mistaken. That second one,
I don't think he won. He went back-to-back?
He won back-to-back MVPs. He won 2, but that MVP he won.
I don't know about that. Let me see.
It was one of the greatest single-handed performances I ever seen. It wasn't exciting to watch, but it was just from a basketball perspective. From what I saw, I never saw a power forward play like that.
Well, listen, Rob, the easy place to go here is like, well, he had no championships. So how could you even say he's better than Tim Duncan?
It's hard for me to explain. I want to really dig into my argument because people in the chat say I'm tripping, I'm bugging. I need to really break it down. I'm just saying for what I saw that MVP season of Karl Malone was something I rarely witnessed, man. I can't articulate it right now, but we're gonna get to that a little bit later. But yeah.
Okay, but all right. Meet the Grams, follow me. I think it's the most important song in this back and forth, at least most important for Kendrick, right? It changed the course of where this thing was going. It got personal there a little bit more, I think. I think that's where the battle kind of turned a corner. And I think that's where everybody start understanding, you know what? Kendrick's not going to stop. I think when I heard Meet the Grams and when I saw the reactions to Meet the Grams, that's when I saw people like, yo, Kendrick's really getting relentless here. Like, this has gotten personal. Mad Max in the super chat says Meet the Grams was the worst track. Okay. Mad Max is not that big of a Kendrick Lamar fan. Listen, do I think that They Not Like Us has the same impact without Meet the Grams stopping, if you will, Family Matters? No, I don't. I mean, and I don't think any of these records are really, how do I say this? Do you think any of these diss records are top 10 all-time diss records?
You can make an argument. You can make an argument that over time, and time has to pass, that Not Like Us could be a top 10 diss record because it was a banger. It was a wow.
Do you think, speaking of bangers, do you think They Not Like Us is better than Back to Back?
I would say so, yes.
Really?
I would say so, yes. And Back to Back is a very strong record. It's a very strong record. And for what it did for the time so Back to Back, so you would put Back to Back in the top 10 of diss records all time?
I don't know if I'll put Back to Back in the top 10, but I think I might put Back to Back ahead of They Not Like Us.
So you asked me earlier, is it a top 10 diss record? So you wouldn't have They Not Like Us in the top 10 of all time diss records?
I don't think so. I don't. Mad Max in the super chat says Family Matters is not and Not Like Us are the best tracks. Well, I think that's kind of the overall consensus. I think personally, and I said this on another show, Family Matters is the best song or my favorite song from all of these. But when I'm looking at it on the album format with that track list that was on that cassette, and if I'm listening to it like an album, I may say that Meet the Grams is the best song on there.
No. If you're looking for an album song, 616 in LA is a better song than Meet the Grams.
Okay. I mean, I'm cool with that too, because I think 616 in LA is really, really tough. It's Kendrick rapping in the way that Kendrick rhymes. I think Meet the Grams is, to me, it's indicative of who Kendrick Lamar is as an artist. This is something that Kendrick Lamar would put on a Kendrick Lamar album. You know what I mean? Like, just his approach to that song, the storytelling, if you will, the inflection, the dramatics, and all of that. It sounds like something on Mr. Morale. It sounds like something that could have been on To Pimp a Butterfly. And I think that it's his identity. And I think, again, Family Matters, that's probably why I like that record too, is because it's Drake's identity, but he's rapping pretty crazy on there, for his standards, in my opinion. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says Kobe has 2 chips as the clear leader and the best player on his team. Timmy has 5 over 3 different eras. Now, let's be real here, Jermaine. Timmy wasn't the best player on all 5 of those championships. Kawhi Leonard got one of those finals MVPs, and I feel like Tony Parker got one too. Mad Max in the super chat says Back to Back was better than Not Like Us. Come on now. I think so too, man, because I think back to back was we didn't think that Drake had that in him. I don't know if it was the element of surprise, but yeah, I think that back to back had the lines in it. You know what I'm saying? It was a clear winner. My problem with They Not Like Us, and I'm not trying to be funny, it's like it's a lot of hyperbole and it's a lot of exaggeration. I give back to back a lot of credit because a lot of the things in back to back were just up front and in your face. And even the whole Twitter fingers thing, we've seen Meek what Drake said about Meek on that song, we've seen it all play out. We've seen Meek turn into Twitter fingers sometimes. And the whole, is that a world tour, your girls tour? And, it's like everything on back to back was real. It wasn't inflated and made up to a certain degree. And as much as I, respect Kendrick and how he approached this whole thing, to me, at the end of the day, when we talk about this versus other beefs or back and forth in other situations, I think some of the exaggerations might, I don't want to say disqualify this back and forth, but it might put it behind some other ones. You know what I'm saying? Because the exaggerations that were in this one were very, very high. It wasn't just saying like, yo, your bodyguard Uchiwali versus better than yours. Like, we know that's not true per se. Or, compared to Beans You Whack, we know that's not true per se, but those are little inflations. The inflations that were on this back and forth were high. Mad Max says, better quotable and factual on back to back. What say you?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's close. Like, you don't have none of the records in the top 10. So what for what They Not Like Us did, it galvanized the coast. It brought the West Coast back in the conversation. Yeah. So from a cultural standpoint, he did something that Drake couldn't do and galvanized the whole city and that galvanized the whole coast. Drake being from Toronto, he don't have a home like that in America. So he couldn't really pull it out. And then the colonizer thing, deconstructing Drake's moves in Atlanta was a lethal blow. So we'll see over time if They Not Like Us get in the top 10. I think it will. But in the battle, I'm still thinking when you talk about album cuts, I even like Euphoria better than Meet the Grams. Me personally, I don't Meet the Grams the least song I played in the battle. That was the one I play Euphoria more. I played 616 in LA more. I played Family Matters more. I even played Push-Ups more. And the Hard Part 6 and Euphoria and Meet the Grams are two of the least songs I played in the whole battle.
Do you have They Not Like Us over Back Down, 50 Cent?
No. Personally, no. But there's an argument that can be made what Not Like Us did. Again, I'm going back to what it did for the coast. You know what I'm saying? Uh-huh. It was a bang. It was a hit. It's a banger. It's a hit. So me personally, I like Back Down personally, but I can see how people could say the Kendrick record is better.
What about the Story of Adidon?
What are you asking me?
Which is the better diss record, The Story of Adidon or They Not Like Us?
Shit, I'm gonna go They Not Like Us.
Really? Huh.
And I'm not. And guys, this is hard for me. This is really hurting me to say these things, but I'm just trying to be objective and fair. It's hard for me to say these things. I'm no super duper Kendrick stan. I like his music. Some of the times I don't put him on the pedestal that other pop platforms do. But I got to keep it a buck. I think it was a better record. I think it was a better produced record. Mustard did his thing on it. The way Kendrick approached it, it just was a better record. It is what it is.
I think The Story of Adidon as a diss record, and you think about what Pusha T was up against at the time, because really this was a one-on-one. It wasn't a 20-on-1 like this situation was, and a bunch of records floating out there. it wasn't cool to not like Drake to a certain degree when Pusha did the story of Adidon, and Drake is at the height of his powers. He just dropped Duppy Freestyle, which people had liked, and Pusha came with a lot of information with the blackface on top of that people weren't privy to. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the things that were on They're Not Like Us were things that have already been said. I'm not, but I like the way he presented it. I agree. He did it in a banger type format. And I don't know if we even knew Kendrick had that record in that type of way.
Because are we saying like impact? Are we saying like what's the better record? Because to me, if I'm keeping this is where it gets tricky because I like Tia Told Me better than They Not Like Us. To be quite honest,
no. We're not gonna get personal. It's just like you said. We're gonna just look at like historically, and I could see They Not Like Us historically being better than the story of Adidon, but I don't know. I don't want to be revisionist in our history because when the story of Adidon dropped, like it did a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like it really had a lot of impact and still does. Every time people see Drake with his son, unfortunately, people troll him from these things. So yeah, I see what you're saying. We're not just going on like some fringe diss records. Like personally, I love 50 Cent's I Run New York, and Checkmate and stuff like that from Jadakiss. Even though I think Checkmate's a better record than They Not Like Us, but on an all-time list, I could see They Not Like Us beating that. But let's look at stuff like Dre Day. You think They Not Like Us is better than Dr. Dre's Dre Day?
No.
Okay.
Come on.
What about Takeover?
Do you think that?
Of course I don't. That's why I don't have it in the top 10. Because we got records like No Vaseline out there. We got records like Ether out there. We got records like Takeover out there. We got records like The Bridge Is Over out there. Dre Days out there. What's the other record I was gonna say? It was at the tip of my tongue. It's a lot, man. You know what I'm saying? Like
second round is it better than Second Round Knockout? Or the
Second Round Knockout is always an interesting topic. Because Second Round Knockout's a dope record, but it didn't win anything. So I would have to say it is. Now, that could be said about Takeover as well, even though Takeover was a dope record and a loss, but Super Ugly is what lost it for Jay. And Takeover successfully, unfortunately, took Mobb Deep kind of off the playing field for a second. So I definitely would put Takeover over it. Trying to think, man. It's so many, man. I just don't. I think that, like you said, from a personal standpoint, I think Second Round Knockout's the better record.
Right.
I mean, but They're Not Like Us is going to be remembered as the better record.
I mean, Ripper Strikes Back. I mean, I don't know, man.
Are we good? You know what? We talk about this a lot and kind of gloss over it. Let's you and I talk about this because we were there, and I want to cover this appropriately. What do you say to people that say that Second Round Knockout beat the Ripper Strikes Back and Cannabis won the battle against LL?
Oh, so you're right. During the time we were there, we were following the battle really closely. I mean, that kind of was a battle of our time. The Ripper Strikes.
I was rooting for Cannabis, to be honest, and I love LL, but we were young, and Cannabis was our guy.
I don't think Second Round Knockout really took him out the game. Now, do I like it better than Ripper Strikes Back? I do. And I did at the time, and I do 20 some odd years later, I do. But LL kept going. And I think after that was GOAT, right? And so he was still dissing Cannabis all throughout the GOAT run. So it didn't quite annihilate him. It didn't take him out the game. I mean, LL kind of, after the Ripper Strikes Back, kind of grew, and the monster grew even more. So, but yeah, it didn't change the landscape, to your point, Mike, during the time it came out. Second Round Knockout.
I think that LL was too big to be taken off of his pedestal at that point. But for the people that are saying that cannabis won, my question would be, how exactly? Have we ever seen somebody engage in a rap battle and you win, but you're the one that stops making the records? You're the one that gets taken down a few notches and taken down a few pegs, while the other guy that you supposedly annihilated continues to thrive and gets bigger and bigger and continues to talk shit about you. When have we ever seen that?
Nah, we hadn't seen nothing
It
like that.
doesn't work like that. He did not win, guys. You might like second round knockout better, but we need to get to the crux of why Cannabis didn't win then. If you feel like his record was better, then why didn't he win?
Yeah, I mean, you can get lost in the shuffle of this battle shit, man. Because now I want the chat to roast me again, but for real, let me ask you a question, Mike.
Sure.
What did you think about Ja Rule's clapback?
I like Clapback. Clapback was dope.
Okay.
The thing is, though, what people got to understand, and what we know now, what we didn't know then, there are a lot of other factors that take place for some of these things to happen. And I'm gonna say all that to say, Ja Rule getting taken off the map was more than just 50 Cent coming at him with diss records. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys had a whole case going on. They lost a whole bunch of support, if not all the support, from the machine. And a lot of things were happening to them behind the scenes. And what we took it for was what was happening right in front of us. Saying all that to say, that could have been happening to Cannabis too, when it comes to this LL thing. But I never understood why Cannabis just didn't keep pushing. Because in the eyes of the public, you kind of started this. And after we hear this phone call that Cannabis and LL had, LL told you to stand down. He told you, like, yo, chill out. They're trying to put you into something you don't want to be in. Go ahead and take the record down. And what we'll do is we'll do some mixtape shit for Clue, whatever. And then, you know what I'm saying, show some unity. I heard that with my own two ears. It's on YouTube. Y'all can look it up after this show. Cannabis sat there and said, yo, I'm not going to put it out, man. I appreciate that. Sorry about that, blah, blah, blah. Put it out anyway. And so after that, I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but at that point, it's hard to really feel sorry for the person that went out there and spoke to this man to man and reneged on what he said he was going to do. And then furthermore, after LL comes with a diss record back and continues to talk shit after that, Cannabis has no more diss records. Like, how did you win? It really, what it looks like was second round knockout with some clout chasing shit in 1998 or 97, whenever it was.
No.
You dissed LL Cool J for real as your first single for clout. Like, let's keep it a buck.
Well, no, let's not. I don't think it was a cloud shake. It could be. But you looking back, we didn't think about that at the time, Mike. We were there during the time, man. We didn't say that back in those days. We didn't say that. We thought it was a good idea. We thought it was dope.
For the people saying the LL dissed Cannabis first, yes, because the nigga went on his posse cut and had like a fucking 24, 32 bar verse. And he told him to cut that shit. And really, he was kind of just slapping him around like a veteran would on that verse, letting him know, like, yo, don't try that. And you talk about you want the mic on my arm and stuff. Come on. Who really started it? Like, I mean, I looked at it like that back then, like Cannabis was being picked on. But after understanding everything that happened and after listening to that conversation and living a little bit, and you see, you know, other people who try to make a name off of bigger people. I mean, shit, I've seen it myself, even in the podcast game. People will try anything to talk about somebody else just to get a leg up or get some more pub or get some publicity. And it looks like that's what Cannabis did. Looking back on it.
But LL dissed him on 4-3-2-1 too. They were dissing each other.
He dissed him after the fact that this man got on my record talking about, you want to take the mic from my arm. I got this posse cut with all these up and coming guys. And LL was always showing love like that. He did it on the Ashacha remix. He's giving people an opportunity to shine on his record. But you come in here with a 24-32 bar verse. And then you talking about, you know, that mic on your arm, let me borrow that and all this. Like, no, chill. And granted, maybe LL didn't have to go at him after he changed his verse. But at the end of the day, maybe LL as a veteran and being the icon he is and was at the time was just letting him know, like, yo, chill out. He did that on I Shot You too. Crush Mo D, Hammer, and Ice-T's Girl. So if that verse that Cannabis went out there and being overzealous like he was doing at the time and like he did on the Lost Boys record, and I love Beats from the East. I think it was great that he did that because that's how I first noticed Cannabis. But you going on after Redman, who is an icon, a legend as well, and he's spitting this 32-bar verse. If Redman found that disrespectful, he had the right to. Now, granted, he didn't because Redman's all about the game and, you know, loving the rhyme schemes and all of that. But you got to understand who you're playing against. And somebody like LL, he's going to take that shit personally. They're saying I'm wrong on this one. What am I wrong about? I
think we got to tell this story correctly because I think in that phone call that happened, I think Cannabis was saying he didn't mean no disrespect by that. It was just competitive rapping.
Yes, I understand that.
LL took it to a different type of way, and I think he even changed his verse a couple times. I think so. That wasn't even.
I think LL apologized for that. I think the biggest thing I got from the phone call was the fact that he told LL that he wasn't going to put this record out, and he did it anyway.
Well, I didn't get that. I don't remember that part. I don't remember that part of the conversation. So
that's the part where I was like, well, that changes things.
Right.
Because L was like, don't put it out, man. These people trying to gas you up. I think he mentioned, I don't want to mention
no, we can say LL used the Cannabis 4-3-2-1 for clout for himself because he took something out of context that was meant to be paying homage and respect to an OG. He took it a different type of way and used that to create another battle. So we can't say that Cannabis did it and then LL did. They both used it to kind of prepare what they had going on at the time.
I know sons fantasize of borrowing flows, tell little shorty with the big mouth, the bank is closed. The symbol on my arm is off limits to challenges. You hold the rusty sword, I swing the Excalibur. How dare you step in my dimension? Have your little ass crying for detention. What is that? Hold your breath, matter. Hold the tongue. I'm a slap you around this time. It's once for fun. Leave you in thesis. Keep you covered in this with one thesis. Every little boy want to pick up the mic. Live up to the real height. That's like picking up a ball, playing with Mike, swinging the King Griffey, or challenging Roy to a fight. Damaging you amateur MCs. Don't you know I'm like the dream team touring overseas? You know, when I quote it, though, it feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, and they're going to say I'm tripping in here. Could it be that Cannabis's verse and the way that he approached it, yo, what up, what up?
So what up?
And the way that he approached it inspired LL to approach his verse in that way? Because he didn't outright diss him like, you know, like Ludacris dissed T.I., but now that we know the backstory, we know who it was about or who it was for. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But I think that put that whole beef with Cannabis put LL in a villain mode. Because remember he was on the basement sitting on the toilet?
Yeah.
But you know, it's the album I'm gonna drop. I want to make it as hard as rocks, giving it to the Glock, thinking it's hard. You know what I'm saying? He was in a different zone.
I think that LL, coming from where he came from and how he came up, he was always, I don't want to say being bullied, but, you know, you had people like Kool Moe Dee that were coming at him, right? You had people like MC Shan that were coming at him. And he was very, very young. And I think that this kind of happened all over again with Cannabis, because Cannabis was the young guy now coming at a veteran. And so he wanted to protect his post, just like he had always done in his career. And not to say that LL's sensitive in that sense, but yeah, if he hears an MC coming at him or perceivingly coming at him, he's going to react. He came up like that. It is what it is. I don't think there's, like he said, battle anybody. I don't care who you tell. And so, like, when certain people or anybody seems like they're coming at him, he's going to react in that way. I think the only person that he didn't, and he probably wouldn't even like that, but the only person he didn't really respond to in that way was Rakim. Because it could have been, on No Omega, it could have been perceived that he was coming to LL, but maybe he wasn't.
He didn't really go full tilt on Jay-Z either. He said he was going to go full tilt on Jay, but he really never went toe-to-toe with Jay either.
I think I think that LL is a tough matchup for Jay-Z in the battle. Now, I guess we got to get Leroy Green in on this, but I think that lyrically, obviously, Jay-Z is somewhere else in comparison to LL, my personal opinion, because you got Reasonable Doubt, you got The Evils, you got Dead Presidents and stuff like that. But just LL's approach to records, I think that LL in a battle is a tough matchup for Jay-Z.
Why come they never went there, though? Because I know LL said he was going to go there. He said he's going to come out, he's going to smack a few cats around. He was going to show them what's up. But he never
never said anything about LL on record, to be honest. LL is tough for anybody. I agree. But yeah, Jay never said anything about LL on record, did he?
No, he didn't. But I think it was some of the Def Jam when Jay was the president and CEO of Def Jam, L felt like he was disrespectful to his career. It was something going on. What was the reason why they were beefing? Was it was subliminal stuff, or was it? What was the reason why LL was upset, saying he was going to go after Jay?
I think it was the Def Jam situation, to be perfectly honest. I mean, that's the only thing that kind of, stands out in my mind at that time. I think the fact that Jay was president of Def Jam, I remember LL making comments like, I never wanted to be president of Def Jam. Yeah, it was offered to me a bunch of times, but I'm LL Cool J. My whole job is being LL. I got to do this over here, doing this and that. I ain't got time to be in no damn office. You know what I mean? And so I remember that being the conversation. So I think that when it was time for LL to drop his albums, a lot of artists, DMX included, felt like Jay-Z wasn't being the ally to artists that they thought he was going to be in that office. And I think that's fair. I think that, when you have somebody that you were signed on a record label with, that same record label, you guys went on tour together, and that person has aspirations to, get in that president seat, a lot of people would believe that, okay, well, he's going to stand up for the artists. And when those artists that, you actually rocked beside and, made records with, and, he probably knows their dealings with the label and the gripes that they had, I think that they thought that he was going to correct those things and didn't, and they felt the way about it. And I think that's legit.
It is. I wish it was a battle we never got to see. I wish we would have had a couple records out of it. We just never got to see it.
I don't know how that battle would have went, though, man. I'm trying to, while I'm talking, I'm trying to actually visualize how those records would even go. How does Jay-Z approach a diss record going to LL?
I think he would have probably did it like Game and really went full throat with it. He probably would have just went subliminally and dropped bars here and there, but I don't think he would have went full tilt with it.
I mean, you think he would have just called him washed up or something? Or you had your time? And because I kind of know where LL would go.
I don't know.
LL would probably come from the standpoint of, I was this when you were that. You know what I'm saying? And you think that you're here when you're really not all the way. You know what I'm saying? I knew you when you was doing this, and when you were trying to beg to get on, I was already up here. I think that's the standpoint LL would have came from. But I'm just trying to think from this record standpoint, how does Jay-Z approach a diss record going to LL?
He would have said, "Man, I became the president and CEO of a label you created. Now you just hating." He would have came as like you was a hater that didn't maximize his opportunity type of thing. That's what Jay would have done. He would have probably tried to boss up on L. You
It's hard to boss up on somebody like LL though. That's the thing. Like he's been successful his whole career.
You doing TVs and movies. I'm still running the rap game. I sign your checks. He would have came at it that way. You know, he would have came at some I'm big dogging you type deal.
Yeah, I guess if anybody could big dog LL, I guess it's Jay. But yeah, saying all that to say, man, this whole narrative that Cannabis won that battle, I think is irresponsible. Now, if you guys feel like he should have won, I get that. But the fact of the matter is, us Cannabis fans, or however you want to call it, the lyrical miracle fans, which I was really big on back then, still am, we didn't support Cannabis enough for him to win. So he didn't.
He didn't, man. But
and I would like to ask Cannabis before we move on to the next topic. Why did he stop? That's the big question mark. Second Round Knockout was a dope record, but we all know in battles, and as we know from this Kendrick and Drake thing, it goes in rounds. One song's not enough. I know Cannabis didn't think that he could go out there and just do one song on LL, and that was it. Like, why did he stop?
I mean, as if LL, you listen to what LL was saying, he says it on the GOAT song "Back Where I Belong." What do he say? He says, "So I hate to be." What do you say? Let me read the verse.
He said, "I hate to be responsible for ruining your career." He said, "One hit wonder. Now wonder you disappeared."
He said, "As far as Cannabis go, my man hitting his ex broad. I'm getting from his new piece while 20 gangbangers applaud. You came around with that BS. Some heads sucked it up. Then you dropped that garbage album and totally effed it up. I could have told you how I knew your moms from the after hour spot when I used to be up in Canada with the dreads on the black block.
Oh my God.
Before you D-roll Lost Boys for a ticket out to Jersey. But being the man I am, I try to show you mercy. I could have told the world
how you get your lyrics from the internet.
I could have told the world the way your label hates your guts and how me and Wyclef got together to set you up. And you gave me half your budget. Don't believe me? Look it up. Your A&R promotion, nigga. They helped me hook it up. I hate to be responsible for destroying your career. A one-hit wonder. A wonder you disappeared. Yeah, I mean, he says label kind of made him stop.
But again, I don't know. Maybe Cannabis has talked about this in recent interviews. Has he ever articulated what was going on behind the scenes during that? Now, for the people out there that say Cannabis won, yeah. Now, if you come to me and say, you know what happened was he did put together these records and nobody put it out. Those records exist. He got blackballed, blah, blah, blah. Yes. But we don't have any evidence to prove that he won other than the fact that, you know, we, myself included, like Second Round Knockout better than The Ripper Strikes Back. Damn, I don't think The Ripper Strikes Back is even a top 25 diss record all time.
Oh, damn. After I read that shit on Where I Belong, yeah, Cannabis didn't win because he never responded to that.
He never responded. You can't just go out there and put out one record. And that's why I call it a clout chase, because the thing is, if this was about a battle and if this was about winning a battle, when this legend who's going to get all the airplay possible comes back at you and continues to come at you and you stop, then it doesn't feel like it was about the battle in the first place. You tried to get your one-hit wonder off, as LL called it, and that was it. Jermaine Johnson with a super chat says, Black rappers would have been more comfortable. Black rappers would have been more comfortable with seeing some unqualified random white dude being president of Def Jam instead of seeing Hov in that spot. It's who we are, and it's embarrassing. That's it. You know what, Jermaine Johnson? That's a great point, man, because I know Puffy's going through a lot of this stuff, might not be a great example right now, but, you know, when a lot of artists talk about, you know, their dealings with Puff and the contracts and this and that, and I'm sure it's valid, but from my understanding, those contracts came from Arista, and those are contracts that artists that were on Arista typically signed. Those were standard contracts. But it's different when it's coming from Clive or when it's coming from, Jimmy Iovine. But when it's coming from Puff, then all of a sudden these are the worst contracts ever. So there could be something to what you're saying there. Jay, I'm sure he made his mistakes. He was fairly young to take on a position at Def Jam at the president, standpoint. He had never really ran a label before without having his partners there to, kind of help guide, make decisions on that level. And they had Def Jam as distribution, so it's a whole different animal there as well. But yeah, I mean, maybe he should have leaned towards, some of his peers or delegated in that way. But I mean, I'm sure he wanted to try to make his own mistakes and make his own decisions. That's part of what being president is. And everybody's not going to like it. And I'm sure he did the best that he could. In my opinion, looking back on it, looked like Jay was over there in that position, kind of soaking up game and seeing where the industry was going. And that kind of gave him the knowledge to be able to start Roc Nation in the way that he did years later. So.
Oh yeah. He took the game. He soaked it up, and he did his own thing with Roc Nation and made him kind of catapulted him because he was always getting money, but that took him to another stratosphere.
Yeah, because he needed that corporate experience. And that's one of those things that, people don't talk about enough. As an entrepreneur, yeah, it's great to go out there and do your own thing. And you got to go out there and do that and jump out there. But, when you're able to have a level of corporate experience to see how things work from a company that's established that already has a system in place, there's a lot of learning that you can get. I mean, even when Ye was talking about getting the infrastructure for his fashion empire, when he went out there and soaked up game, it helped his fashion empire. I think that's what Jay was doing at Def Jam from the president's standpoint. But, it's a great moment in hip hop history. How did we even get on that tangent? We was talking about disc records all the time.
I don't know, man. You asked me some crazy questions, man. You asked me the craziest question I've ever been asked on this damn podcast. Was they not like us better than Dre Day? That's the craziest question I've ever been asked. I've never been asked a crazier question than that. And I got kids too. They ask me crazy questions every day. But that was a crazy question.
I'm just naming disc records, you know what I'm saying? Like, and many people would tell you They Not Like Us is not better than DJ Quick's Dollars and Cents. He killed MC8 on there.
He did.
So, yeah, I mean, They Not Like Us is dope, and maybe we need to give it some time to just see how it resonates overall. But I think that it's just a banger, and I think that's what's keeping it afloat in that sense. But as a diss record, straight up, I don't know. I don't know if it's a top 10 for me. But moving on. Did you hear the comment in Pete Rock record, Dreaming?
Did I hear the comment in Pete Rock song, Dreaming? I did hear it. It was dope. I saw the video they did on Vivo. I like how they're rolling out this project. It's more of like a traditional album rollout. I saw a picture on Instagram that Pete put up. He had like the vinyl, he had like a cassette tape, he had the CD, and he had the cover of the album. I thought it was dope, man. What'd you think about it?
I thought it was dope, man. I mean, everything I'm hearing from this project is dope. This is why Pete Rock is one of my favorite producers personally. I think that he's one of the hip hop producers that takes on an artist and really takes on their full project. And you could tell that he brings something out in people that, I don't want to say regular beat makers don't, but he's special in that way. I mean, he was able to do that with CL Smooth as well. So I think that these guys sound incredible together. Common, and maybe we should have noticed this as hip hop fans over the years, but when you look at Common's tone, inflection, just overall makeup as an MC, he does kind of reflect CL Smooth in a lot of ways. And these guys make a great combination. And this is a combination that we should have seen coming years and years on. We never really said, hey, that person and that person need to make an album together. But But yeah, I think with these two guys, I think we should have. I think it should have been one of those things where we're like, yo, Common and Pete sound great together. And they've worked together before, but for them to come together and do this, and even when it was out there that they were making an album together, I kind of brushed it off initially, like, okay, well, this is going to be another project. But from what I'm hearing right now, man, this is more than just another project, man. Like, I agree with you. This has to be album of the year in the making right now, just based on what we're hearing. If I'm going to make a bold prediction, it wouldn't even be that bold. But if I'm going to predict based on what I'm hearing right now, what album of the year in hip hop is going to be, this one makes a strong case for it.
Right. And you know, for the folks that's in the comments on the last show, no, Ron is not on the take. You know, yeah, Pete's my guy, Amir's my
Compromise,
guy.
right?
I'm not compromised. They're my guys, but I'm just hearing what I'm hearing. The 3 for 3. And Trying's not even on the album. They put the track list out. Trying didn't even make the cut. That's
crazy.
Trying's not even on the joint. So Wise Up, Dreaming. I mean, they're 3 for 3, and Trying ain't even on the album. So
wow.
And when we spoke to
Amir, Trying wasn't good enough to make the album, is what we're hearing.
Right. And then Amir was like, the 2 songs, Dreaming and this one's like, yo, he says another one that should have been the first single. So, you know, it's shaping up to be the album of the year. I didn't doubt that Common could do this because Common's always adapted to the producer that he worked with, even with No ID, Resurrection, Kanye B, The People, with Primo. So he's always done great work when he locks in with a producer. Now with Pete Rock, it's just a continuation of that discography of Common. That's a top 10 discography, maybe top 5.
Did you see the track? Not to interrupt you. Did you see the track list?
I did. They put the track list out yesterday.
Oh, I just saw the cover. I hadn't seen the track list. Where is that at?
It's on it. Let me pull it up. Hold on.
Yeah, that's crazy. Trying's not even on there. Wow. And well, I will say this though. I mean, Trying is dope. Do you think Trying is would be number 3 here?
Actually, I like Trying better than I did Wise Up, to be quite honest with you.
I think Wise Up is a better single, but I think I'm with you, man. Like, Trying is hard. I hope they find some way to put this on as a bonus or something, man. Like,
so let me share my screen real quick so everybody can see it. Hold on.
Maul with the super chat says, Maul 7, that is. He says, I told someone earlier today, I have a feeling that Common and Pete Rock's album will be indeed a classic.
Let me share my screen real quick. So hold on.
Well, you know, with it being the 2 figures that it is, I think this could very well be a classic. Because honestly, them coming together is classic in itself, right? And if the music delivers on that, then we got a shared screen there. Where did you find it?
Hold on, let me share my screen again. It came out yesterday.
I'm saying, was it on like Twitter or something? Somebody has to be checking.
They put it out there. Let me share my screen.
I was just looking on that IG. I haven't seen it. Oh man, Wise Up is mid. Come on, guys. It said Pete Rock posted it. Okay.
I can't figure out this damn Mac, man. So
Ron got a new computer and it's driving him crazy.
You see it now? I don't know, man.
I see like the infinity post.
Man, I can't. I don't know what's going on here, man. I'm just gonna read.
LP said it's on IG. I'm looking on IG right now. I don't.
So the first song is Dreaming. The second song is Chi-Town Do It. The third song is this man's Arms. The fourth song is We're on Our Way. Number 5 is Fortunate. So Many People's number 6 featuring Bilal. 7 is Wise Up. 8 is A God There Is featuring Jennifer Hudson. 9 is Stellar. 10 is Lonesome. All Kind of Ideas. It says featuring Pete Rock. So I don't know. I guess Pete Rock gonna have a verse on
there, probably, yeah.
12 with Pasta News, When the Sun Shines Again.
I like that.
13, Everything's So Grand featuring PJ. Now and Then is 14, and the outro is 15.
Wow. 15 tracks. Wow.
Trying
not even part of that. Wow.
I didn't even
Yeah.
know. It's tough, man. Everybody think I'm capping. Everybody think I'm trolling. I ain't trolling. Everybody think I'm on the take. I'm not on the take.
Well, we're gonna see when the music comes. I know you, Ron. Like, even if we do have a relationship with those people on the other side, if it wasn't good, we just wouldn't say too much.
No, if it wasn't good, I wouldn't say nothing. I'll be like, man, shout out to them. Hope they much success. I wish them well. I wouldn't say anything, but it is what it is.
Brian with the super chat says, "Dreaming is song of the year for me so far. If the album is at that level of quality, I'm buying the album. If we want high quality albums, we got to give artists an incentive to make them." Thoughts? I agree on that with that 100%. I think that I don't want to go on a tangent real quick, but I do want to respect your super chat here. I think during the era where people actually bought albums and actually were able to show artists that they supported them based on their spending power, they're voting with their dollars, right? When people were buying records and buying albums and even buying singles, I think that was incentive enough, whether that be from the label standpoint or just directly from the artist standpoint, to keep making what you're making. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep making stuff at the level that you're making. When people are no longer buying albums and music is essentially free, that incentive kind of goes away. You know what I'm saying? Like, all you're hearing is buzz. All you're hearing is like, okay, well, they like that song for the moment, blah, blah, blah. I think the only artist that really gets that level of gratification when they put out quality albums is Kendrick, really. And Kendrick gets heralded for the efforts that he puts out, and he keeps making those because he gets that proper credit for them. And I think in the free market, if you will, where music is free, a lot of artists who do make quality albums, they don't get incentivized from that financially or just for, critical acclaim. And then they're like, well, shit, I done put my heart and soul into this. I'm not doing that again. That's how artists move, and that's how artists feel. So I think there is something to that. If you see that somebody is putting out great quality work, we do need to support that and make sure that, they feel that love in one way or another, and go out there, like you said, buy the vinyl, buy whatever to support that. Hopefully Nas and Hit Boy felt that that love and that gratification for the 6 efforts that they put out during this run. I think that's why they kept going. You know what I'm saying? Like, they kept going because of you guys. And after King's Disease 2 hit, they saw that people loved what they were doing. And when Magic hit, it was over. It was like, okay, well, let's keep going. Y'all kept Nas and Hit Boy making those albums, because if the people didn't speak in the way that y'all were speaking after those efforts that they made, they would have made King's Disease 2 and just chilled out.
Yeah, they would have, man. They would have. I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the project. I think it's going to be really good. Actually, I know it's going to be really good. So we'll shout out to them, man. And Dreaming. I mean, they're back to back, 3 in a row, baby.
Yeah, I don't know.
I heard Tim Duncan never got a back-to-back championship, by the way.
I don't know what y'all don't understand about my man Common, man. Not all of you, some of you. I told y'all Common was top 5 like weeks ago, and I really said that like a long time ago.
5?
Oh yeah.
He better than Tupac.
And someone asked me about Tupac today. I said, if Tupac was alive today and you tried to tell Tupac that Common wasn't that dude, Tupac would be like, bro, like, when I was a young man, I was spinning I Used to Love Her because it was iconic, learning how to metaphor shit out. Like, so you're telling me 30 years later, Common still ain't the guy? Tupac would be like, something's wrong with y'all, with your math.
So you're saying Common's better than Tupac?
Tupac would look at you as crazy if you're saying 30 years later, Common still's not in the running, when even when Tupac was alive, Common was that dude.
Are you comfortable with doing a versus with Common's 34-year, what is it, 32-year career? No. Are you comfortable doing a versus with all of Common's 32-year career pieces of music versus 4 or 5 years of Tupac's music?
Are we judging fame or musicality?
Music. We're just judging music.
So beats and rhymes. You're meaning to tell me that 30 years after Pac been gone, that Common still ain't able to compete? I think something.
Again, I would play if I got 20 Tupac records versus your 20 Common records, and you could pull from 32 years of his career versus what I'd be able to pull from 91 to 96.
Respect to Tupac, he doesn't determine what goes on 30 years later in hip hop. I'm sorry.
Well, that's not what I'm saying.
I
feel like the music that he made in that small window of time was strong enough to compete against Common's 32 years of his career.
I think Tupac would be like, bro, like at some point, someone has to be able to elevate. Like we can't.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but that person has to elevate over that other person.
We can't keep having me as the pinnacle every year, and I haven't even been out here for 30 years.
Well, it's not about him, it's about the music. That's why I said, like, we're going to go 20 songs deep. Because, like, if I play I Ain't Mad At You, what are you going to play?
If you play what?
If I play I Ain't Mad At You, what are you going to play?
But how I used to love her. But it doesn't matter.
You want to use I used to love her on that? Okay.
It don't matter because one guy is not going to determine one man cannot determine everybody's rank.
Like, well, what if I play? I'm sticking with the music. I ain't talking about the guy. I'm sticking with the music. What if I play Shed So Many Tears? What are you gonna play?
This is again. If somebody plays Common for me and I'm playing Ice Cube songs, I automatically pick Ice Cube because I just like Ice Cube. So then it's about my bias. But
why don't people like Common to that degree?
Musically, you mean to tell me that in 30 years, Common hasn't written a better rhyme than Tupac? Common hasn't picked a better beat than Tupac in 30 years? I think something is I think we're stuck in 1996, y'all.
No,
we gotta let the music determine.
I think music. I don't think we're stuck in a time warp. I think music is timeless, right? Music, it doesn't matter how long ago the Beatles made their music, or U2 made their music, or Prince. No, let me finish. Like Prince made their music, or Michael Jackson, or James Brown made their music, or Janis Joplin, or the Rolling Stones, or Bob Marley. Music, or David Bowie, or BB King, or Miles Davis. Music transcends time. It doesn't have a cutoff date, and now somebody else has to be better. I think we will match up. I love Common. These are my guys. We're trying to get this interview set up, so I'm just going to keep it real. When you look at Pac and Common, I think Pac's catalog, even though it was 25, 30 years ago, I think if you put 25 records against Common, I think Pac would win. I think I disagree, man. I think you think about it as an MC and as an artist, I still would have to get, even though Common's done phenomenal work, I still got to give the nod to Pac. I mean, because Pac was not only was, and they're both kind of, they both Pac was a little bit more gangster in his approach, but Pac was also a poet too, and he also conceptualized records and make you feel certain things, and talk about, have social commentary in his rhymes. But I got to give the edge to Pac. But I think we can't say
I'm not going to use no records past Pac's death because that's not fair to Pac.
No, what I'm saying,
we don't have to
fix. Because able to keep Pac is still recording. Pac is somewhere in heaven recording music, and I'm sure what he's making now, he's like, this is way better than what I did on Earth. But
what are you talking about?
I'm not going to use. I know it sounds crazy, y'all. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm not going to use music after the man died because Pac wasn't able to keep recording.
Who said we're going to do that? I haven't named one record. I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't think that there's anybody in hip hop really that wants to go 20 songs deep with Tupac. I think Snoop might have the best chance, but I think that subject matter wise and all of the different topics that Pac was able to cover in the way that he was able to cover it, I think that he's a problem for anybody. That's not just singling Common out. I think that, and for me to even have Common in that conversation and what we're talking about,
made Dear Mama.
It's not the Common in the first place.
Pac made Dear Mama, right? We all got moms. We all love our mom. And I'm not saying Pac didn't do this. So when I preface that, Pac made Dear Mama, but Common is the embodiment of making music that your mom will co-sign. For 30 years, he has stood on the principles that his mother raised him with.
Yo, I listen to a lot of podcasts, right? To study for this show, but Leroy, you my dude. I think that's the funniest thing I've ever heard on a podcast.
What?
Tupac in heaven recording stuff that's better than that's the funniest thing I've heard. All my years listening to podcasts, you might, and I'm not just saying it because it's on our podcast. That might be the funniest thing.
Tupac albums in heaven, he probably got the angels turned up, my G. He probably got the angels turned up. But that's me. That's my imagination, right? But I'm just saying, like, you know, it's no disrespect. I also study our people, and I know our psychology and how we feel about fallen heroes. So I'm only going to challenge that to a degree because I know the reaction that comes with that. But personally, I think Common has earned the right now to be in that time. I mean, how much do you want him to go for 10 more years? Or should he go for 20 more years? How many more years would you like this man to demonstrate for you people that he picks dope beats, he got dope concepts, he makes dope raps, he makes dope albums. His albums, the integrity and principalities behind his album are constructive for the life of Black people. How many more decades or years would you like Common to prove that to y'all?
You know what? I understand where you're coming from as far as you having him in the top 5 in, you know, in relation to the longevity and the fact that he's been doing this on a consistent basis, and the way that he's been doing it for so long, continue to thrive and continue to get better and continue to make quality music.
Right.
Now, if you wanted to say that Common was better than Biggie for those reasons, I could see that. I think what makes it hard for me to put Common over Pac is because for Pac, we do have the Brenda's Got a Babies of the world. We do have a Dear Mama. We do have that level of consciousness from Pac, and we were able to see a lot of balance in this young man who passed or was murdered at 25 years old. Imagine what he would have. We don't even have to play the imagine game, because even the stuff that he made before he reached the age of 26 years old could rival things that people made 35 in their 40s or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that's a moot point. But when it comes to Biggie, though, I can get with you on that, because Biggie didn't get an opportunity to give us that level of range, right? He didn't really show too much level of consciousness balanced out with the street rhetoric, with the storytelling. Biggie was just incredibly skilled. And Biggie also had incredible people that were able to tune in to everything that he did great. So yeah, if you want to put Common over Biggie, I could get with that. I
was alive when Pac was outside. Some digital, some of the OGs that were around Pac are my OGs in real life. So there's a connection. So some people thought Biggie was better than Pac. Some people thought Cube was better than Pac when they was alive. But when you're comparing Common to Pac, you're using consciousness against Common. How?
What do you mean?
You're saying Pac was conscious and Common is what?
Conscious too. I'm just saying that when it comes to, and I'm kind of championing what you were saying with the fact that he makes music that your mom would listen to. Pac did the same thing, right? As far as his rhetoric and how spiritual and uplifting Pac could be and revolutionary at the same time. We didn't get that level of dimension from Biggie. I couldn't see Biggie going out there making a retrospective life type record. I could see Pac doing that. We did see Pac doing that pretty much. We keep your head up and things like that. So everything that Common does well, Pac balances that out and does it just as good, if not better, and he also does more. Now, what I'm saying is when it comes to Biggie, those things that Common does well, Biggie doesn't do and hasn't proven that he could do.
You're saying Pac is a better conscious rapper than Common Sense? If
I
you're
don't outright say that, but yes. If you want to put Common's conscious records up against Tupac's conscious records, I think you would have a tough time.
Because I mean, you can even talk about Life Goes On with Tupac.
Yeah.
All Eyes on Me, man. How many brothers fell victim to the streets?
I think Common has 1,000 conscious.
Be alive. I never thought of death would be the last ones left. But life
we
goes
could
on.
do that. How about we do that? You take Common's conscious records up against Tupac's conscious records. We could do that.
Again, though,
gangsta shit on the side. We don't need no America's Most Wanted. We don't need no Ambitions of a Rider, none of that stuff.
Right. I got you. But let's say we pick 10 Pac conscious records and we pick 10 Common conscious records. Well, then I still got to ignore 500 conscious records from Common. Because
so you're going at volume.
Because on volume.
You can go 20. You could pick the number.
Again,
Tupac has volume too.
500 conscious songs. Common has been spitting conscious for 30. It wasn't just every now and then or every few months or years. It was every time Common been conscious for 30 years. So you can't play the conscious card. You're gonna have to pick a different card. Look at my.
I disagree with you. I mean, the people in the chat are rattling off all these conscious Pac records.
I wasn't conscious, y'all. You're not listening.
No, I think my biggest gripe with your argument, Leroy, is like the time factor. It doesn't matter. Like, for example, Jimi Hendrix was one of the greatest guitarists that ever picked up a guitar.
I understand,
but he died at the age of 27. Now, are you saying that Slash is a better guitarist? If you listen to the guitar solos and what Jimmy did with that guitar,
right?
He's been doing it for 30, 40 more years than Jimmy did it. Jimmy still, if you listen to it, is a better guitarist. That's all I'm saying. I don't think we can't put time. We can't put time on music. Music is timeless. We just can't put that time on.
I think Pac's conscious bars and Common's conscious bars are a lot closer than we give Common credit for. When you look at a song,
I think we give Common a lot of credit on the conscious end.
I think if Jimi Hendrix, we're talking about Jimi Hendrix, and then we talk about Prince. Yeah, Jimi Hendrix is still that guy, but Prince did a hell of a job. He did a hell of a job.
You're talking about my two favorite guitarists now.
So it gotta count. Like Common, just his music and what he stands for and the rhymes, right? There are a technical. Common is a puncher. He's punching, punchline. He's punching back to back. There has to be something said about a man who does this for 30 years. And that's no diss to Pac. Like, the people that think that I'm up here disrespecting Tupac, you're not listening. That don't make sense for me to disrespect Tupac.
All right, well, to your analogy here or comparison with Jimi Hendrix and Prince, I feel like with Jimmy, the groundwork that he laid in the 60s with his guitar work and the riffs and the way that he was, approached guitar playing, Prince was able to take that and kind of expand on it in ways where, you have his guitar solos on like, not Baby I'm a Star, but like
I know what you
but I'm drawing a blank right now because we're on live.
Purple Rain.
I was thinking, Purple Rain, but I was really thinking
Never Take the Place of Your Man. I want to be your.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because those are things that are extensions of what Jimmy could do. Saying all that to say, right? Tupac, I don't feel like Common is the analogy to say that he expanded what Tupac did lyrically. I do think that Tupac is an expansion of what Chuck D did. I think that Tupac is an expansion to a certain degree of what guys like LL Cool J did and what Ice Cube did. I don't think that we ever really got a true expansion, and I'm not just singling out Common. I don't think we ever really got a true expansion of who Tupac was as an artist, because he's kind of Captain Planet on this thing where it's like, okay, you want a guy who can give you, a hit record, radio record, boom, he's that guy. He's the guy who can get you a conscious record. He's the guy that can get you a diss record. He's a guy that could go out there and get you like a party record. He could do all of these things and still be the same guy. So I don't think that we got a Prince for Tupac's Jimi Hendrix, if you get what I'm saying.
I do get what you're saying. And I think when Pac heard I Used to Love Her, he heard someone that was making a conscious effort to make consciousness more important than money. So he personified hip hop as a woman. And I think everybody, including myself, everybody who has ever talked about hip hop as a woman and how consciousness is more important than money, I think Common sparked that. And that was
I agree with that. I agree with that. Because I don't think we got a record like I Used to Love Her before I Used to Love Her, to be honest.
And also when it comes to revolution, I was born right across the bridge from Oakland, where the Panthers is from. When it comes to this revolutionary thing, I respect just black people. So if you got a revolutionary spirit, I respect that. But there are levels to it, and a lot of the revolutionaries, they who cross gang culture with revolution, it can get sticky because revolution was not supposed to be against each other. We wasn't supposed to be riding on each other. That wasn't part of it. It became a part of it. But, there are some separations. And I think when it comes to this revolutionary thing, a song for Asada speaks to the original intent before we started banging on each other. Because when
Asada who? That's Tupac's aunt. You know what I'm saying? You don't think those type of records would have came from Pac?
I could go speak to people that knew Pac personally and were friends with Pac and chilled with Pac for years. But I think when we're banging on each other and calling that revolution, I don't see how that is.
Well, who's your top 5? And then we'll go on to the Styles P.
Shout out Styles P. But of course, I mean, in my mind, me bigging up Common is not a disrespect to Pac. Now, I know in other people that means I'm dissing Pac, but to me, I'm bigging up another black dude that put in the work. I don't know why that's a diss. My top 5, Jay, Nas, Cube, KRS, Common Sense.
Okay, and I kind of see, I can see a pattern there. Where do you got Pac? Just being curious.
I could easily put Pac in the top 10, but I do not feel it's fair for someone who died in 96 for me to be comparing him with people that put out 15 albums after he'd been dead. Like that ain't no fair metric to Pac. He wasn't able to compete with that. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was dead, like, respectfully. So I don't think that's fair. And people like, oh, you're dissing Pac. I think that's the ultimate respect to Pac. For me to not be comparing him to people who had another 27 years after Pac. Like, come on, man. If Pac had another 27 years, then I would compare. But Pac didn't have.
He's been punished because he was killed.
I wouldn't say punished, but I would say when you have someone like a Common, when you have someone like a KRS, when you have someone like a Black Thought, when you have someone like a Scarface or a Ghostface, these dudes have been rapping consistently for 30 years, y'all. I cannot overlook that with a clear conscience.
But what does it say about somebody like Pac if I say for these people that you say have been rapping for 30 years, which they have, and kudos to them, man, because this ain't easy to do. What does it say about Pac that he could probably beat them in a 20-song matchup with just 5 years of his career and has been gone for 30 years?
Because I understand where my people come from when a hero of theirs dies.
Well, no. There's not everybody. That doesn't stand true for Big L. That doesn't stand true for Big Pun. There's no way that Big Pun could beat Ghostface in a song matchup. There's no way.
If I put Black Thought against Pac, no matter how well Black Thought raps, they're still gonna tell me Pac was better.
What you're doing, Leroy, and you might not realize this, you're discounting the work that was done, even if it's the highest level work, because the man is gone.
You think I'm not a fan of Pac's music?
I'm not saying that. what you're doing is you're disqualifying how great the catalog is before he was killed because he got killed. You're saying, no, you said this, that basically we're going to lean more towards Pac because he lived. I mean, because he didn't live. That's not the same thing for Big L. That's not the same thing for Big Pun.
Exactly.
That's not the same thing for Old Dirty. Rest in peace to Old Dirty. I'm not going to sit here and say Old Dirty beat, you know what I'm saying, Common in a matchup because he's not, you know what I mean? It's not the same.
Tupac was something else because when you talk about I am the voice for the whole people, and then the people take you serious. Black Thought never said he was the voice of the whole people. Pac did. So when you take that serious, and then the person is killed, and then we in our personal lives, even if you don't know Tupac, you know Tupac. I know Tupac and never met Tupac. What do I mean by that? I mean, I know what it's like when the young dude gets killed from the hood. I know what that's like. So when you think of Pac, you're thinking of the little homie that got killed. That's who Pac is to you. So if I put Black Thought against that, Black Thought could rhyme the best rhymes he ever written, ever rapped, and it still won't be enough.
Mad Max of the Super Chat says Pac was Scarface mostly using a thug image. Yeah, I can see Scarface being a big influence on him as well. Jermaine Johnson with the Super Chat says, truthfully, I wanted to rhyme like Common Sense.
No, but see, I got to push back on Leroy just for 1 second. When I think about Pac, I just think about the music. I really don't think about his death. I just think about that's just me. I just think about the music. I don't think about his death at all.
I think about what Pac represents to me is the little homie that got killed. So I
think you're thinking more about the person than the music. You're saying the music, but it's like you keep talking about the person. Like, let's talk about the records. Let's talk about How Do You Want It? Let's talk about, you know what I'm saying, Keep Your Head Up. Brenda's Got the Baby. Let's talk about Dear Mama.
And then another thing is, before I brought up the Common thing, and I'm not saying it was all me. I'm sure a bunch of y'all was up on Common. But how many of y'all really could name off these Common records off the top of your head like that? To go up against a battle with somebody, you got to be able to name the songs. And a lot of people don't even, you know what I mean? They associate fame with fame means you're better. So if you're not famous, it must mean, if you're not as famous, it must mean your music must be not as good. That's in people's mind. That's what they think.
Well, yes and no. There is some validity to that because a lot of these lists, when they talk about the hottest rappers and what MTV used to do, is like, yeah, it was like the hottest rappers of this year, whatever they wanted to do. And they would pretty much basically tell you who was relevant and who was more famous. And those lists were based on fame and numbers and things of that magnitude. But I think that we're in a time now where people kind of look past those things and we understand that, yeah, just because Gunna might be one of the more popping, rappers out there, or let's just say from the city of Atlanta, I don't think anybody's going to tell you that Gunna's a better rapper than T.I. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that we know how to decipher between those two things. And let's not do Common like that. Common's pretty famous too. I know that we have this notion in our minds that Common's a backpack rapper, an underground rapper to a certain magnitude, but Common's he's on pace for an EGOT. Like, that's historic stuff. Common's pretty famous.
He is. There are people that's not even into hip hop like that hold Pac as the greatest. And they're not even into hip hop like that. And
why is that though? You think
we're not talking about those people though. We're not talking about those people though. We're just talking about the music. We're just talking about the music.
When somebody represents the underclass of Black people, the disenfranchised of Black people, and they're a hero in life, and then they get killed in front of us, what does that do to the psychology of Black people?
But I think that makes the music sound better.
I'm with you, but I'm just talking about. I'm talking about the music, though. I ain't talking about. I'm not.
People compare Pac to Martin Luther King.
You're talking about something different. Yeah, we're talking about the music.
I'm just talking about the music.
Right.
We're not going to talk just about music because, again, if I played a Black Thought song for you, or a Common song for you, or a Cube song for you, or whoever, you're just going to say Pac is better. It don't matter.
No, if the song was better,
If the song is better, we'll say the song is better.
I mean, if the song was better, I would say the song was better. I wouldn't say
compared to Malcolm X, and that makes sense in their mind.
I promise you, if you play some records that were better than what I was playing, the Pac records, I'd say these songs are better. But again, I would find it hard to believe that you can play me 25.
No, this is not.
Well, hold on. This is the thing. Hold on 1 second, Leroy. This is the thing. Like Michael Jordan said, man, like the reason why his shoes sold the way they did, because he was out there playing the game. If he averaged 5 points, 2 rebounds, or whatever, those shoes would be worthless, right? The reason why people held Pac to that magnitude or to Martin Luther King status and all that is because his music was that powerful.
Be clear.
He could talk all the shit that he wanted, but if his music didn't back up who he was and what he was speaking on, it would mean nothing. So the music is very powerful, and you can't overlook that.
Did Ice Cube not do that? Did KRS not do that?
Many of those things. You know, I'm a big advocate for Cube. I love Cube. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's one of my personal favorites. But if we're being objective, like I said, and this is a perfect correlation to what you said earlier, Cube would be more Jimi Hendrix, where Pac would be more Prince in this situation. He took some of the elements that Cube started, and he kind of evolved them.
Pac drew from everybody. He drew from Pac, from Cube, from Chuck D. He drew from Nas. But I'm saying,
but who evolved his formula?
What you mean?
Who could we sit there and say is the evolution of Tupac Shakur?
I think I don't think there's nobody who can be exactly like Tupac, because if you want to be exactly like Tupac, you got to know what that comes with at the end. So
I'm saying just your approach to music. You're talking about different stuff. I'm talking about, like you said, he drew from everybody, and you're right. But he was able to draw from Public Enemy, from Chuck D, from LL Cool J, from Rakim, whatever, and make this thing that we call Pac, and it was versatile, and he was able to cover everything on every gambit. But who is the personification of him to the next level?
All the rappers have done that. All the greats.
I agree. But who drew from him and took what he did to the next level? That's the problem here.
I think Pac would be 50-something years old today, and if he could look around, he would say, Nas took from me, Common took from me, Jay took from me, Cube took from me, KRS took from me. I think he would pull out every great and I think Pac would say, wow, if I was alive, I would have went in the direction that Nas is in. I would have went in the direction that Jay is in. I would have went in the direction that Cube is in. So yes, I think Pac would look at Ice Cube and be like, yeah. And I think Pac would look at Common and be like, that is the personification of everything I stood for. Still alive on the planet rocking.
Okay. I mean, I get that in individual lanes, but collectively, somebody who could do all of the things that he does and take that to the next level. Like we were just talking about LeBron James and his greatness earlier. When I look at Tupac and all the things that he's able to do, I'm looking at somebody who can score,
was he
pass, who could rebound, who could run the floor, who could do it all. Now, you might get some people who could score like him or some people that could rebound like him. But for me to really definitively say that there's an MC out there that came after Pac that was able to take his model to the next level, it's hard to say. I think Nas is a good one for that, but I think Nas is a totally different thing. In my personal opinion.
They try to make DMX the next Pac.
I can see that. DMX had all the tools to do that and take that to the next level. He had the consciousness, he had the ability to make hit records. He had the image, he had the performance, he had the strong voice, the passion. DMX is probably the closest that we saw to possibly taking what Pac was doing to the next level.
Again, this is no disrespect to Pac. This is about our thinking as a people. Is it wise to try to copy what Tupac did?
It's not copying. It's what we said earlier. Everybody draws from somebody before them. That's what I'm talking about. Copying. He had a lot of people that copied him, and we never respected that.
what artist do you think would it be wise to copy? Would it not? I won't use the word copy, but if you're gonna ride physically, Tupac's not just rapping; he's talking about physically riding in the street. So, who thinks that is a wise move? Now, if
listen, and I gotta stop you there, Leroy.
Game carried.
What you're doing,
Pac was being literal. He wasn't being imaginative.
Leroy.
He's meaning literally.
We gotta get the Styles P, Mike.
We gotta get the Styles P. But Leroy, what you're doing right now is what the white media did to hip hop in the 90s, where you're taking one section and one segment of a person and exploiting it like that's all that person was about.
That's
what
I'm
saying.
That's what I did. I mean, I think
that is what you did. You made it seem like Pac was all about just riding on niggas or something. Like, come on.
Was Pac about riding on niggas? Yes or no?
No,
that was a part of it. Sometimes when it was necessary. If you're gonna be perfectly honest, every hero in the history of America or in the world rode on somebody.
He's much more nuanced than that. He's talking about teenage pregnancy. He's talking about single mothers. He's talking about political prisoners. He's talking about losing homies in the street. He's talking about some gangster shit too. The answer is no. He wasn't just talking about riding on dudes. He wasn't
about no gangster activity. I was out with the gangsters, and when they heard Pac, they wasn't trying to go do no community service work, bro, to help the community. That's not what they heard when they heard Pac.
But I want to stop you there. Because you know what? At the same time, maybe when you were with them, that might not have been what they heard from him. But they also had that same tape where he was talking about something else. And for you to think that when he was actually on his conscious shit, that wasn't hitting somebody that was already on some street shit, I think that's the thing.
I'm not talking about Pac. I'm talking about a real gangster that listens to Pac. Now,
what I'm saying though, with that real gangster that listens to Pac, you don't think they heard the positive stuff he said? They're taking that stuff too.
Right. You're thinking of gangsters hearing Pac and thinking, "Man, I need to read more books." But I think the Game took from Pac and carried it. I think Nipsey took from Pac and carried it. And how do we feel about Nipsey? But again, this is a touchy subject, but people think I'm dissing Pac. It's the people listening to Pac. Now, if I take on Pac's mantle, I take the word gangster life. Let's say I tap the word gangster life on my chest and I make gangster an acronym, right? The world knows it's an acronym for something positive, but when I step in them streets, are they going to take it as positive or are they going to take it as you are pushing a gangster line? We got to be real. We got to be real, y'all. If y'all ever been in the streets before with some real hitters, like, we got to be real. Like, they took Pac's message as, oh, he's a real one. He's trying to ride, y'all. That's how they took Pac's message. They didn't take Pac's message as, oh, you know what? We got to go start food programs for the kids. We got to start mentorship programs for the kids. That's not what they would. Not when I was outside in 95.
I just think it's very interesting that when it comes to Jay-Z, you could look at the greater good of him turning his life from being a drug dealer to that into music. But no, let me finish. But when it comes to Pac and even Kanye or whatnot, it's like you harp on, some of the things that could be said that were negative. Like all of these guys who, hip hop comes from the streets, will always be in the streets. So all of these guys are going to have some level of baggage that comes with how they came up, where they came up from, and what they've been about. This man was young. And if he didn't speak on certain feelings and the way that he would approach things, even from a street aspect, he would be dishonest. The one thing that I can appreciate about Tupac's music, whether people want to say it was bipolar or whether he was, all over the place or not, he was honest in that moment. One day you might feel like fucking somebody up. One day you might feel like, showing love. That's just real life.
That's every human being is like that. All of us are like.
He was actually willing to articulate that as opposed to putting on a front and saying I'm conscious all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm not gonna go too far more into Pac, but when we talk about Jay, I think when people listened to Jay back in the day, they thought about hustling. I don't think they listened to Jay and was like, you know what, I need to start a philanthropy program. I don't think that's what happened. I think they listened to Jay like, yo, I gotta get this paper, and if I gotta hustle, that's what I gotta do.
Yeah, Max Super Chat says, LOL, I love Pac, but I agree with Leroy. Mad Max also says Pac's whole persona is being used by King Von today. I think that's pieces of him, though. Mad Max's Super Chat says, and his persona is killing the young rap.
For it, I can't conflate.
I disagree with that.
Mad Max is my guy, but I can't conflate King Von with Pac. I think that's a super duper stretch. Shout out to my guy Super Duper, by the way. That's a super duper. Yeah.
Pac was a young man.
King Von was an agent of death. When Pac rhymes, Pac is speaking about life. He's speaking about our community. He's speaking about different things going on that he's seen, and him coming up and from Baltimore to Oakland, being born in New York. You know what I'm saying? Is being affiliated with the Black Panthers. I mean, Pac is a complex, dichotomous MC. King Von might have grown to be that, but for all intents and purposes, he was a serial killer. He had a lot of bodies on his hands. So I mean, he was speaking death. He was speaking death in his music. Pac was speaking life. So I can't. Mad Max, you my guy, but I can't compare the two. But we gotta get
Styles P. When we talk about Styles P was just at Pendulum Inc. He was like, I want to thank everybody that supported me, because had you not supported me, I'd have been dead. Okay, so let's
get on Styles P. Let me get this Mad Max Super Chat. He says, Jay persona ain't being emulated like Pac's, Mike. All right, we could talk about this till the cows come home. Let's talk about Styles P. He's dropping an album. And I want you to, start off with what you were saying about Styles P and your interactions with him at Pendulum Inc. How long ago was that? About a couple of weeks ago?
But I was here with y'all. I told everybody at 5 o'clock they
remember
over there. But I was here with y'all. But what I'm saying is, I got homies in the class, of course. But he was like, if I wasn't supported by y'all buying my music, I probably would have been dead. Because when I was young, I was about activity, gangster activity. So what am I saying? I'm saying when we're young in our 20s, well, yeah, we're pushing a street line because we don't know how to look the other way when someone disrespects us, right? So I'm not blaming the young people, Pac, or any young people for that, because I've been young before. You know what I mean? So, and I just think that's how we react. But Styles P, first of all, Gangsta and a Gentleman, I thought that album was great. When I first bought it, before listening to it, I had low expectations. No diss, but it was just that the single I get high. I was like, that's cool. But when I listened to the album, it was fire. You know what I mean? And I just think that things are about balance, y'all. So being that it's about balance, we have to bring both. We have to bring both positivity and negativity with us when we're rapping, right? Because it's about balance. But we got to be careful because we know the youth is going to take the negative. Very few of the youth are going to be like, yeah, I want to be positive now after hearing us ride. That's just the reality.
I don't want to jump back on the Pac thing, but yeah, it sounds like you're saying that, his vibrato with some of the things that could be perceived as negative overshadowed the positivity. I think the way that I look at it is similar to the not Chuck D, but similar to the Public Enemy type of format where it's like, okay, I'm spitting this over here, but we got Flav over here to kind of catch some of the people who might not have caught my message if I would have just said it straight out. I think Pac's whole approach was, you know what, I'm going to speak to the people that need to hear this in the way that they can understand it. And I don't discount, that approach. I think that approach is actually necessary.
I love
it. Andre said, speeches only reaches those who already know about it. This is how we know
that approach. But it's just when I'm out in the street, I know how it goes down. So it's like, I love the approach of giving gangsters gangster music. I love it. But I just know, and again, I'm not dissing Pac, y'all. It's 1,000 rappers that kick this. It ain't just one guy. And it's 1 million of us listening to it. So I can't be targeting one guy. You know what I mean? But, Styles P, great MC. but he was allowed to grow and get older, and with his age came more wisdom. So as he gets a little bit older, you start hearing a lot of that wisdom in his bars. And I think that is the balance that comes with age, right? Like, yes, in the street, I'm pushing a line. If you play with me, I'm gonna knock you down. But when I go home, I still gotta be the dad. I still gotta be the soft person with my family, or the a level-headed person. So that's the dichotomy right there, and I think Styles P does that well. So I'm looking forward to the albums, and I'm looking forward to the albums, and Styles P is dope.
Well, this is his announcement for the album. Styles P says last solo album will be in 3-part series, broken up. Ghost of the Past, Ghost of the Present, Ghost of the Future. Memoirs of a Gangster and a Gentleman. I love it. Mad Max says, man, Pac was speaking death too. Let's see what else we got. LP with the super chat says, bad takes. This is like when they say Chris Brown is the new Pac because he went to jail. That's only one part of his persona. Disingenuous opinion. Shaking my head. I agree, LP. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, Styles P is in a personal top 5. In my personal top 5. Even Jada admits that SP is better than him. Their discography / catalog is not even close. It's not. Deuce Falco with the $20 super chat showing love. He says, how did Leroy get on this show? Honestly, please. He put up $20, man. Shout out to you. He really felt passionate about that.
I think we all know a young dude that wasn't rich, that wasn't a movie star, that was pushing a gangster line. And he rode out in his car listening to gangster music and never came back. So,
but what about Styles P though? Since we're talking about this, we're talking about the gangster and the gentleman. He's been a balance too, right?
Yeah.
And what do you think about his approach to music? Because Styles has grown over the years. He used to be on some real street shit, still is on some music sometimes, and he gives that balance too. Why do you not feel that same, I guess, vigor when it comes to Styles P's approach?
But I absolutely do though. Had Styles P been taken from us in the 90s, then maybe my energy would be similar. But it's like we do need the balance, and we do need both. But with that balance, you also have to have like the same person on some point in the album saying, you know what, get out the streets, y'all. I'm not really, now some are really about that life, and I'm not talking about them, but those that know better, those that came up in a different situation, that are trying to push that line and not saying that on their album, that's what I'm speaking to. And my opinion is not going to be popular, y'all. I mean, so I expect people to be mad or to go against what I'm saying, because nobody wants to hear that. They want to hear me just ride. You know what I mean? And but I get it. But I do have that same energy for Styles. But again, Styles was able to get older, so we had no choice. All the rappers are going to become conscious rappers. All the rappers.
Mad Max with the super chat says holiday styles. Listen, I think doing albums in 3 parts right now is kind of where we're at. I think that's a dope concept. Excuse me. I hope this is going to be an EP format. When I say that, I mean maybe like 8 songs and separate them out week by week. I think that'll be really, really dope. Hopefully this won't be Styles' last album, because when we talk about MCs retiring, it never really seems to work out like that, because the ones that actually announce their retirement are still good enough to make an album that's viable where we care enough that they retire. And it's very difficult to walk away from something that basically made you who you are and it's a big part of who you are, and just say, you know what, I'm never going to do it anymore, So yeah, it's hard for me to believe that Styles is not going to drop another album after this.
I believe
it. If it's true, where is Styles P all time? We got to have that conversation, because he's a very interesting individual. He's in a group with somebody who's mentioned among the top of the tops, but he has a better catalog and output of music than Jadakiss does. And many of the stuff that we, hold Jadakiss high for, Styles P's right there doing, rhyming back and forth with him on there too.
That's a good question. Where is Styles P? And I think a lot of people that were telling me Jadakiss is better than Common. I think y'all better look at Styles P discography next to Jadakiss. So that is a good question. To your point about artists getting out of the game now, to be honest with you, I believe them, and I think fans should tell the artists, however you talk to them at a show, DM or whatever. I think you should tell them how you feel about their music, and because I don't think they all know. I think some of these artists are feeling underappreciated. I think they're looking at the game kind of sideways, like, is it worth the trouble for me to be out here?
I think that's a fair point.
I think the fans should tell the artists, really tell your favorite artist that, I need you to keep making music, man, for me. Because it's honestly like, it's some people that live on their rappers' music. What I mean is like their favorite rapper gives them reason to get up and keep going. You know what I mean?
And, to piggyback on that point though, Leroy, not to cut you off, but you're right. And I think that what we also do is we pretty much just praise the old music that artists made. And that's no real incentive to go in the studio and make new stuff. If you're going to just sit there and praise somebody for work that they did 20, 25 years ago and not really acknowledge the new stuff, then why do I need to get out here and make music for the masses? Now, they can always go in the studio and make music for themselves if they want to. And I'm sure rappers that retire do that. But it's like, if we're just going to praise the stuff from the 90s and the early 2000s and not give credence to the great music that's being made in recent time, that doesn't really give them incentive to go in the studio and work. That's why it's important for us to really look at what Common and Pete Rock are doing right now and actually assess it as necessary.
I think we should also ask how I became cool with Mickey Fax, right? We knew each other, but how we became cool was like, man, I want to hear the music that you make for you. I think we as fans, we should ask the artist, bro, can I hear the music that you make for you? Because you're going to hear something totally different, y'all. These rappers way more talented than what you're hearing. You're hearing the music after it was filtered through business. Ask them to play you the music that's not filtered through business, and you're going to hear a different level of rapping.
You're making some really good points, Leroy. You see, you showing how he got on the show. Mad Max with the super chat says, because Styles is idolized. I'm sorry, Styles is not idolized like Pac. Mad Max also says, a lot of you treat Pac like he was Christ. Mad Max, you weren't there, respectfully. LP with the super chat says, so Styles can talk about guns in his 40s, and that's more acceptable than Pac at 25. How are we holding a young cat to a higher standard than the older ones?
We all can talk about that. I'm not thinking that I'm mad at rappers for talking about violence when violence actually exists in real life. I can't be mad at you for doing that. I'm not mad at Pac for doing that. Again, Pac was like in his early 20s. How could I be mad? Like, it's not about being mad at the artist. It's just saying that it's a very sticky road. That is a very sticky road. That's all I'm saying.
Mad Max with the super chat says Jadakiss over Styles. The verses with Dipset show why. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to the Styles P album. I look forward to getting a date on that. Got a lot of really good new music, sounds like, coming up in the month of July. Hopefully the Styles P starts up in July. Rhapsody dropped a dope album. For the people in the chat that keep mentioning Rhapsody, I liked it. I think it's probably in the running for album of the year right now. And I'm not historically really, really big on Rhapsody's music like that. But this was a very quality, it was a quality effort, a very quality effort. This was a very, very dope album. And
very dope album. Folks said Mac Homie I listened to the Mac Homie album. I thought it was cool. I don't think it's album of the year, but people say it was dope. We got Common and Pete coming out. I think Nas and Primo are going to drop this year. The fall off may come. It may not come. Who else? Styles P is going to come out. That's going to be dope. Who else is coming? Somebody else is dropping an album.
Mike's favorite rapper, M. Eminem.
Oh yeah. Eminem's coming. Yeah.
Eminem's coming. Kendrick might be coming out with an album. Rakim's got an album coming out. So it's a lot of different things coming out.
I may get to hear Rakim's album. If I'm lucky, I may get to hear Rakim's album early, and I'll let y'all know. The production on there is handled by Rakim, but I haven't heard it yet though.
Oh, is that what it is?
But go back to Mark Hami's point. His relationship with his fans is very direct to consumer. And while I'm asking fans to tell their rappers how they feel, is because if they create that connection moving forward, hip hop looks very different, y'all. It looks very different once the fans and the artists are connected. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
I agree.
I forgot to mention LL. LL got an album coming out. And my guy, Westside Gunn, got an album coming out. I think Westside Gunn, if he can come back to form like T did with 10, I think we might have something. We might have something.
Well, the West Side was the one that I was leaving out too. Yeah. What do you guys, before we get out of here, what do you guys expect from the new West Side album? Because I thought he was done. I thought he said he was going to retire. We were just talking about artists never retiring. What do you guys expect from this new West Side, and why do you think that he's coming back after he said he wasn't going to come back?
I think his last album didn't get the reception he thought he was gonna get. And I think he needs to come out with something as dope as 10, or Pray for Paris or something like that. So I think that's what he's trying to get to. The last Conway album wasn't that good. Benny's album was well received, but I don't think it was what people were thinking. So I think he's trying to bring the Griselda camp back to form.
I think that's a good point. I think that Westside is he's the connecting piece, right? He connects all of those things that make this whole Griselda machine work. And maybe he does feel that there is some steam being, Griselda's kind of getting slowed down a little bit, right? And maybe a Westside Gunn album can kind of charge that back up. And so hopefully that's the approach of it, to kind of get things back on track in a sense. Because I think what it is with the Griselda efforts right now, they just feel very separate. Whereas before, it was all clicked up. And you were expecting to hear a lot of collaborations between the people in the camp. And I get it. Everybody's kind of trying to do their separate things so that they can have their own identity outside of that quote unquote Griselda sound. But I think that it kind of loses momentum too when you separate. So maybe this Westside album is going to be a connecting piece and bring these things back on track.
First of all, just silently, for people talking about Mickey and Nas in the comments, there is nothing between Mickey and Nas. They're cool. So stop. Secondly, I think Westside Gunn, he makes fine art in rap, right? So this means few are gonna like it, many are not. I think Nas and Primo, that sound is fine art, meaning some will like it, many will not, right? But I think that's necessary. Westside Gunn brings a certain aesthetic. He got his street but it's art. He's picking specific beats a certain way, touching them a certain way, and scheming up his rhymes in a certain way. Whereas a lot of the close references are double meanings for his gun bars, right? But that's art. And I think he excels at that. So I think he's had the best run that I've seen in the last since 2016. If y'all have seen a better run than that, then you could let me know. I'm sure you've seen some great stuff. But from Fly God to 10 is just a massacre of Westside Gunn cleaning everybody up. You know what I mean? So that's what I saw. You know what I mean? So, he can't come back outside. I think regardless of how people feel about it, Benny, I think your personal relationship of how you got to the top, maintaining your family, I think that should be on record. And you put that on record, things going to start to look different.
Freddie need to come back outside too. I think 2024 needs Freddie.
Okay.
I think we're going to get Kendrick in 2024 as well. And we're probably going to get an announcement probably around Juneteenth. I think that would be the smartest thing for Interscope to do. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to get a J. Cole effort. because I think what has happened over the past couple of months, J. Cole's going to have to rebuild this buzz, the buzz that he's been working on building over the past few years with these features and killing everything, and him going out there doing the most and showing that he's the best MC of the three that people talk about. He's going to have to redo all of that work over because
he's been trying. He's been trying. He released a record with Thames last week. He had a song "Grippy" with I forgot Cash Cobain, I think. And then he had the Red Bottom song on Future Metro's album. So he's got 3 features. Actually, that Red Bottoms feature was actually pretty dope.
What is the thing, though, Ron? He's going to have to do a lot more than what he was doing before to rebuild this buzz back up, because what he did a couple of months ago, and I get it, it was for personal peace and all of that, but it turned a lot of hip-hop fans off in a way where it's going to be tough to get people excited about what he has coming moving forward. I don't have the answers. I don't know what he needs to do to get people excited again. But I think it's just going to have to be some incredible music. It has to be something incredible and undeniable, you know.
I got an answer, folks. And again, people are not going to like my answers, but I have to be honest with the people. I think sometimes, all the time, but I think you should be honest. As an artist, I think you should be honest with the people. And I think Cole should still drop the album, and he maybe should add a song to the album and talk about what it's like to take a L. What it's like to not battle when everyone is asking you, can you go battle, right? Because I think rappers are out here, and people, and us as a people, are thinking that we're going to get out here and never take a L. So they never even try because they're scared of taking a L. We have to learn how to take an L and keep rocking, right? So I think Cole needs to speak on that. Like, bro, if you don't like me because I apologize, that's part of life, fam.
Well,
sometimes you gotta apologize.
Before you go, because I know you're gonna pick up on this. Yeah. I think I'm just a little confused by the outcome, because he said he had 2 albums, 2 classics he was ready to drop right now, or might delete later. And then he said, I think a lot of the bravado he had on the feature run, he might have to scrap the album because he can't talk like that. The apology, he can't talk that talk no more. So he might have to go back to the drawing board and make songs about the ladies, or come up with some conscious records, because all that big dog talk, you can't talk. So maybe that the fall off was that. So
none of these guys are untouchable. Every rapper who is out here talking about he's the big dog, I promise you there's somebody who they don't want smoke with.
Well, I agree with that, but the thing is, J. Cole was putting himself in position to be number one in that talks, and he was talking that talk that he wanted to be the best. And an opportunity came out for him to actually show that he could be the best, and he went the other way. Like, it's not like Andre 3000, right? Like, Andre never runs out here talking that he's this and that, he's the greatest, blah, blah, blah. So if he were to do something like Cole did, everybody would understand and be like, whatever, he just ain't there in life or whatever. But Cole, to Ron's point, has been rapping all of these songs talking about he's this and he's that and he's this and that. He can't come with that approach anymore. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to kind of scrap everything at this point, because I don't want to hear it. Because when you had an opportunity to show people that you were the best, you went the other way. And people aren't going to forget that.
I think in his mind, he still is that guy. And I think that
he can think that in his mind, but it's hard for him to convince people that. It's like if I said, man, you know what? I could outbox everybody out here, man. You know what I'm saying? And then niggas stepped up and wanted to box. I say, you know, man, I don't want to box no more. How do I go out there and say I want to box again? I can't.
If you're out here rapping and you're not saying that you will, if you don't think you're the best rapper and that will rap everyone under the table, then you probably should go write more. I think all the rappers should rap with the attitude of I am the best. So
they should, but when someone challenges them on that, they can't sit there and walk the other way. That's the point.
I think in this regard, right? And I've seen friends get into a battle situation. So the public thinks that they don't know. But in real life, these two are actually friends. So I've seen rappers say, you know what, I'm not going to go there because I actually am cool with this person. The public don't know that. You know what I mean? So
well,
I think
what is the thing though, Leroy? I feel you on that, but what friends do is if Kendrick was the same level of friend with him, he wouldn't let him go down like this either. You know what I'm saying? So if it was really like that from a friend level, Kendrick could have deaded all of this J. Cole talk with any of the stuff that he said in the records that he was putting out.
Well, I'm just saying
He didn't save him. He didn't.
When I think for some of us, when a battle, we could battle for play, but I think some people have to battle when it's real. And I think in Cole's mind, when it went against Drake, and he's like, you know, I can't blame him for that. And I get it. Everybody's like, I get it why he would not want to get into that. You know, it's just Cole doesn't need to really battle anyone. His position doesn't change. Like people thinking his status went down, trust me. If he wants to put on another concert tomorrow, that shit is gonna sell right out. So his status,
at this point, people want to see what he is going to say. I think the real test is going to be with new music. To be honest, I mean, if people, people are not gonna not like his old music. But the question here is, how does he approach new music after he did this, and what the support of the new music is going to be? The game started, guys. We got to get up out of
here. Yeah, Cole knows the difference between people just talking and reality. These people in the chat are talking crazy. They do not want smoke with me in reality. And I think Cole is the same way. You know what I mean? But I get it. And I think he should still rock the same album and just drop it and just explain, like, bro, I sat this one out. And if you don't like me for it, I can live with that.
He's just going to have to come with great music. But, yeah. All right, hit like and subscribe, everybody, man. I'm going to see this game, man. Hopefully, Kyrie can go out there and play to the level he needs to. We know Luka Doncic seems to be doing that on a night in, night out basis. Ron was talking about his injury earlier. Hopefully, we get to see a great game. I want to actually see a great finals, man. But right now, it don't look like a great finals. Sign it off.
Yeah. All right, guys. Peace.
He said yes.
Peace.